Welcome on in to NFL Daily and our coverage of the 2023 NFL trade deadline. Matthew Peterson here with Tyler Jones to start things off. Tyler, already a good amount of stuff to talk about as we've got a second-round pick going to Washington in exchange for Montez Sweat, the defensive end. So we're going to break down that trade. We're going to give you guys our analysis and then what we think may or may not happen before that 4 p.m. Eastern deadline. At that point, no more trades can be made until the start of the 2024 NFL League year. Now, before we get into the Montez Sweat trade details and whatnot, I do want to know, shout out your team. Who is your Sunday squad? Let me know in the chat right now. Tyler and I will be giving some shout-outs, so make sure you are being loud and proud for your squad in our live chat here as we ramp up our NFL trade deadline coverage with more trades coming in. I shouldn't say by the minute, but maybe by the hour. Last year, we had 11 trades go down during the deadline. This year, we're off to one trade today, but we've had a couple recently, like Leonard Williams to the Seattle Seahawks.
Yes, that Leonard Williams trade was a big deal yesterday. The Seahawks gave up a second-round pick in 2024 in addition to a fifth-round pick in 2025. But shout out your city as we get this thing started. I got Tony, the Chiefs fan. I got Michael, the Niners. Danielle with the Cowboys. Chris with Dallas. I got Dame with the Seahawks. Jeff with the Bears. Draken with the Broncos. Tony with the Chiefs. Daniel with the Lions. Plenty of others out there, Petey.
Yeah, a lot of teams in the chat right now, so continue to shout out your team. We're going to recap all the trades we have seen so far, but if you are excited for the NFL trade deadline, type me. Trades are always fun, right? They're fun to do on Madden, and there's always a sense of maybe either being potential winners or, I shouldn't say losers no matter how the deal goes down, but it could be a win-win. I think this Washington Bears trade could be a win-win for both sides as we have our first Super Chat coming in from a longtime viewer over at our Cleveland Browns channel, Michael Warnecki, with a $5 Super Chat. The first one of the day.
We haven't even got to the menu yet.
What's that?
We haven't even got to the menu yet.
We have not, but Michael Warnecki setting the tone for the dog pound. Michael, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of action out of Cleveland today regarding the Browns, but Andrew Berry is, as I like to say, Blockbuster Berry, absolutely addicted to trade, so you can never quite rule out the Browns making some moves before the deadline. But speaking of the Super Chat menu, Michael Warnecki getting things started with a $5 Super Chat. $5 Super Chat, hot trade take. I'll kick things off here, Tyler. They might not all come to fruition, but you know what? It's fun to live on the wild side a little bit. So how about this for a hot trade take? Chase Young, he gets traded to the Atlanta Falcons today. I think you're going to see a big reset button pushed in Washington. And with Montez Sweat gone, you might as well go all in and really try to embrace the rebuild and go get something for Chase Young. I just don't think Washington feels that Chase Young is a good culture fit in their locker room, right? Did not pick up his fifth-year option. They don't really seem to have long-term plans for him. So go get something for him while you can before you let him walk in free agency. So that's my hot trade take right there for a $5 Super Chat. Plenty of more in the chamber if you want to send a $5 Super Chat in. All right, so with that being said, we've got plenty of trades to recap and to get into on today's show. But one more time, make sure to type me in the chat right now if you are excited for the trade deadline. Over 400 people currently tuned in. A quick reminder to also like the video. Help support the channel a bunch. But we're going to talk about the Montez Sweat trade. We're going to talk about whether or not I think the Bears were the winners or the losers in that deal, giving up a second-round draft pick for them. So a lot to cover on today's start of the NFL trade deadline. But before we get into all that good stuff, I do want to show some quick love to our great sponsors for today's show, which is Prize Picks. So today's show is being supported by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy sports app where all you have to do is pick more or less for 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. Prize Picks is super simple and user-friendly. I spend 1 to 2 minutes on the app every Sunday morning making my selections, and I already went out and looked and saw what the what the numbers were for this upcoming week games. And we got a game over in Frankfurt, Germany between the Dolphins and the Chiefs in the Tyreek Hill Bowl. And I like the less, believe it or not, for Tua's passing yards at a little under 300 yards. I just don't think Tua's going to be able to air raid it across the pond like that. But I do like a bounce-back game from Patrick Mahomes more than 295.5 passing yards. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. The link for that is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. One quick super chat to hit on before we get to the one or two, actually, before the Montez Sweat trade that went down here. Luis D. Garcia, Cowboys. Any news? Luis, I think you already know the answer to this question. It's Jerry Jones. Like, Jerry made all the trades he budgeted for the whole year before the season started with the Stephon Gilmore trade and the Brandon Cooks trade. The Cowboys, as always, they like their guys. They're not going to do much today, in my opinion.
No, the Cowboys tend to hold off of being aggressive. We see that they hardly ever bring in free agents. They make a couple trades each offseason, and that's kind of just it, who they are. And so with that in mind, I think the Cowboys are going to roll with the punches for better or for worse, and then we'll fast forward to the playoffs and see them get eliminated before the divisional round again. But thanks for that $2 super chat. Another one coming in, a first-time super chatter.
Let's go. Relaxing Siva. Yeah, a little round of applause. I have a feeling Jerry Jeudy may not get traded. Denver's won 2 in a row. They are 3-5 going into the trade deadline. And relaxing Savannah, I tend to agree. I think Sean Payton has this team clicking a little bit. They're playing much better as of lately. And I don't think they are dying to move on from any of their key players like Jerry Jeudy. So at this point, I think it's more likely than not that Jerry Jeudy stays a Bronco past 4 p.m. Eastern time. Tyler, let's talk about the most, I should say the recent trade, but kind of the first big trade of the last 48 hours.
Kind of got the ball rolling.
Exactly.
Seahawks bring in Leonard Williams. They give up a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick. The second-round pick from 2024, fifth-round pick from 2025. And of note, a big part of this trade, the Giants take on most of Leonard Williams' contract as he had one more year remaining on his deal in exchange for receiving better draft capital in this trade, that second and fifth-round pick. And it's going to be interesting when you think about it, Petey, the Seahawks so far this year have been able to play with 2, 3, and 4 down linemen. They've really mixed things up and tried to throw off their opposing offenses based on the matchup that they face. You bring in Leonard Williams, who's got experience both at defensive tackle and the defensive end spot, just like what you have in Jaron Reed, who's currently playing nose tackle right now. I love what Pete Carroll and Clint Hurtt are doing of that flexibility here now to really get creative with the defensive fronts.
I'll also add that while giving up a second feels a little bit steep always, it's important to remember that not all second and first round draft picks are created equal, meaning a second rounder for the Seattle Seahawks, who are 5-2 in first place in the NFC West, they kind of appear to be on track to have a late second rounder. So it's not like they're giving up one of the early second round picks the way they've been playing lately.
And they already have 2 third-round picks, so you still have 2 day 2 selections even after this deal. That's what made it a little more feasible. Had they not had that extra third, I don't think they make a deal like this. Another trade, the Eagles and the Titans. This trade a couple days ago, exchanging safeties, and the Titans picked up a couple more picks.
They did indeed, and this was a move that I'm a big fan of if you're the Eagles. If you're the Titans, it's a bit of a bummer, right? I mean, Kevin Byard, who played at MTSU in Middle Tennessee State, just down the road from where they are in Nashville right now, been in the volunteer state for, his entire playing career. And unfortunately, all you walk away from moving on from the heart and soul of your defense for nearly a decade at this point is 2024 fifth and sixth round picks and a safety in Terrell Edmonds who is probably not going to be here past this season. So I'm sure Titans fans wish they could have gotten a little bit more, but I do think this might set a good jumping off point, a good blueprint as to safeties are not the same as running backs or wide receivers or edge rushers, where you're just not going to get as much for safeties as you will for other positions.
Well, think about this for the Philadelphia Eagles perspective here. This was a team that heading into the trade deadline was really needing safety help. And we've seen Howie Roseman have a reputation of being the most aggressive GM in the entire NFL, and they weren't waiting around till deadline day. They found their guy. They got him. They got the deal done. The Eagles with the best record in the National Football League right now. That team is not messing around, and a very nice find for them to fill that void they were looking for.
Let's move on here to the trade that went down late yesterday afternoon, and that is Kentavious Street going to the Atlanta Falcons for a day 3 pick swap. Atlanta lost, speaking of heart and souls of defenses, their very own heart and soul of the defense, Grady Jarrett to a torn ACL. So the Falcons are doing their best to try and bring some reinforcements in, bring some extra depth to that defensive line as they try to recreate Grady Jarrett for the rest of the season, which you really can't do, but you got to at least make an attempt at it. So Kentavious Street, a former 4th-round pick by the 49ers, he's got like 6.5 sacks in his NFL career. He goes from playing very little in Philadelphia to probably having a good-sized role in Atlanta.
Yeah, and you have an Atlanta Falcons team that is contending for that division, right? That's a team that has playoff aspirations with Arthur Smith and company, and so for them, they needed to find a piece to keep this momentum going, to keep them in contention of sorts. You give up a 6th-round pick. If you're giving up a 6th-round pick for a playoff spot here, I think that's well worth it at that point, if that's what you're doing on that front. The big trade of all those so far at this point is what the Bears did, getting Montez Sweat and giving up a 2nd-round pick. Second straight trade deadline where the Bears gave up a 2nd-round pick. Hopefully this goes better for them than the last time with the Chase Claypool trade last year. But we talked about a lot this offseason, Petey, that the Bears didn't really address the weakness at the edge rusher position. Now they've done so with this move, bringing in Montez Sweat, who is off to maybe the best start of his career to a season so far. He's playing really good football. What does this do to the Bears' defense?
Yeah, I got a lot of thoughts on this trade. First, you brought up a great point. The Bears were the bottom of the barrel last year in sacks. What do they do to address that? They go get Walker from Tennessee, Yannick Ngakoue, a couple of interior defensive linemen, but they don't get a marquee, pass rusher. Well, now they do, but it's a little bit too little too late at times, it feels like, because the Bears are not going anywhere this year. This is not a move for the Bears to try and come back in contention this year. I hope that this move is followed with a contract extension if you're a Bears fan, because you don't want to give up a 2nd-rounder when you're a 2-win team for just 8 games of service when you're already on pace to win 5-game max. So clearly Chicago feels like Montez Sweat is someone that we can kind of build our defensive line around, and this is a good building block and a good cornerstone piece for the next few years. So from that side of things, I can understand why you want to go get Montez Sweat. But on the other hand, you're in a rebuild right now. Does it really make a lot of sense to move on from not what the Seahawks 2nd-round pick would be like at the end of the round, but a pick like the Chase Claypool trade, which could be a top 5 early 2nd-round pick when you're not really in a win-now mode this year and probably not next year, and that's when Montez Sweat is in the peak of his career.
Well, think about this. So last year they gave up what turned out to be the number 32 pick overall for Chase Claypool. So they basically gave up a 1st-round pick last year.
Exactly.
And how did that play out? You bring Montez Sweat. Think about this. It's not just the 2nd-rounder you gave up. Now you have to pay him. You don't bring in a player of that magnitude without the intentions of extending and giving that long-term deal. This is going to be very pricey for Chicago more than it may appear.
And I also think it's important to note that the Bears let Jalen Johnson go seek a trade. I got to envision that they had money budgeted for Jalen Johnson or Montez Sweat, and they went the Montez Sweat round. So to me, this sounds like Jalen Johnson could be moved by the end of the day. The Bears have loads of cap space, so it's not impossible for them to find a way to pay Sweat and Jalen Johnson. It's nearly 100% chance that Montez Sweat's going to get a 4-year, $100-ish million contract, somewhere in that like $23 to $25 million range on average. But I just think the Bears are not a Montez Sweat away from even next year being all that competitive. The timing just doesn't seem right to me.
Let me ask you one more thing before we move on and ask who won the trade here. Let's talk about the Commanders' perspective here.
Yeah,
quick.
Good point.
So the Commanders, now you move on from Montez Sweat. You're shopping Chase Young. This is a team that has some really good defensive talent here, but they don't have the results to show for the talent that's there. Their head coach, Ron Rivera, is on the hot seat. Management, all sorts of issues here. Kind of odd to me, Petey, that this team is selling when they all might be without their jobs and not be able to get the fruits of their labor of this said sale anyway. Have they been promised, hey, we're going to let you come back and roll with it again next offseason? Like, what is going on? Why would you sell if you're not going to be able to have the opportunity to get the rewards of said sale?
Right, and that's a great point, Tyler. And my main thought is maybe it's the new owner, right? Josh Harris there kind of pulling the strings going, I plan on moving on from Ron Rivera this year after this season. So whoever takes over, because Ron Rivera is ultimately the guy who calls the shots during the draft, I want them to have as many bullets in the chamber to start this rebuild off right? They've already got the quarterback in place because I think Sam Howell has earned that so far. But let's get ourselves in a good spot to kind of really turn things around. And a great way to do that is by loading up on draft picks. Now, I agree that if Ron Rivera comes back or he is fired and he's the one pulling these trades off, he's not going to be the beneficiary of having a few more day 2 draft picks. So definitely something to keep an eye on over in D.C.
Who won the trade? B for Bears, C for the Commies. Petey, who won the trade, you think?
I think that both sides can make a good argument for winning the trade. And believe it or not, there is an option of both sides are winners. Take, for example, the Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff trade, right? I think both sides are very happy with how that trade's worked out so far. However, I think ultimately the Commanders are going to be a bigger beneficiary from this trade. They're going to get an early second-round draft pick. The Bears are going to have a really good edge rusher, but Montez Sweat's having the best start of his best year of his NFL career, 6.5 sacks in 8 games. That has him on pace for 10-plus sacks. He's never done that before in his NFL career. I just worry the Bears are going to give out a big contract to a defensive end and then find themselves next year or 2 years from now in the trade deadline far below 500 still and getting calls for Montez Sweat because they are not contenders. So I would go with Commanders.
I'll go with the Bears who won this trade for me because you look at where this Bears team was at of needing that pass rusher. Now they got him, one of the best in the league, for, I think, some value here. There were some trade rumors that we heard within the last couple days of Montez Sweat potentially going for maybe even a first and a third. So to get him for a second, for the market to work out that way now second's a lot still, but compared to what it could have been and what was talked about, I like that for the Bears and a guy that is going to be one of the faces of your defense for many years to come. I like it for the Bears. I'll go B for Bears. B or C? Let us know who you think won the trade.
I love this comment from John Edward Kruger. Surprise, surprise. The Bears guy Tyler saying Chicago won. I didn't know you were the Bears guy.
I did not know I was the Bears guy. That is news to me.
That's a first for all of us.
I love Chicago.
I forgot how you were born in Chicago.
I do love Chicago.
Yeah.
But I've never been the Bears guy. This is news to me.
Hey, we've got over 1,000 people hanging out with us. I'm not going to name names, but Tyler, there are some places out there they're not even talking about the NFL trade deadline yet. Can you believe that?
Oh, they're not live?
They're not live. They're not doing anything. So if you love the NFL and you love us going live here hours before the deadline to get you guys the most up-to-date news and rumors, then make sure to like the video. It helps support the channel. It kind of creates a nice signal boost to bring more people on in. So if you enjoy the free content we provide, liking the video is really all that we ask in return, as we have over 1,000 people watching right now, 144 likes. Let's get ourselves to 200 likes. Now, as we wait for more trade speculation, news, and rumors to come on in, we have some super chats to catch up on here, including this one from San Fran 49. I see people posting Jalen Johnson to San Francisco. Is that true?
Hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't happened yet, but there's definitely rumors of the 49ers looking for a corner, the Bears letting Jalen Johnson, one of the better young corners in the NFL, permission to go seek a trade, and it doesn't take Charlie Green to connect the dots of 49ers looking for a corner. They were active last year at the trade deadline when they got Christian McCaffrey, and the Bears letting Jalen Johnson go seek a trade. If you're San Francisco, Tyler, you've dropped 3 in a row now. Do they have to be aggressive more than ever?
I think so. And we've seen, kind of like with the Eagles too, the Niners have that track record of being aggressive. And with the Broncos maybe not selling now all of a sudden, and Patrick Surtain might be off the table here, this could be another good option potentially if San Francisco wants that to fill that cornerback position. And you look at that secondary, and that's kind of a soft spot for that 49ers team. As you trust Ward and those guys to get the job done against some of these elite passing units. I mean, Johnson could be a difference maker for San Francisco. I could see that happening, and they're not in the same division. The Bears and Niners, even though they're both in the same conference, are on two different planets essentially. You could justify making a move there.
I'll also add one last thing to this. If any team does trade for Jalen Johnson, like Montez Sweat, it'll be met with a contract extension.
Yes.
So if the 49ers think, hey, beyond 2023, Jalen Johnson can be kind of a building block of our secondary. That could be a move they go out and pull off. John R., what's going on, dude? Tyler.
Ravens get Josh Jacobs instead of Derrick Henry. Interesting idea. I know that the Ravens have been linked to about every running back on the planet, from Dalvin Cook to Josh Jacobs to Saquon Barkley to Derrick Henry. I believe Derrick Henry is their first choice. That is the guy that they would prefer to go get. But any of them, I would be open to. Dalvin Cook would be the last choice of those four, for obvious reasons. But Josh Jacobs, I looked at last night, that Raiders team, they're not going anywhere. The Raiders should be selling, but I don't know if they've convinced themselves they should be selling.
Yeah, my only contribution to this would be I don't think the Ravens are going to get a running back today, but my prediction is Derrick Henry is a Baltimore Raven in March. When his contract is up and maybe Tennessee with the new GM kind of wants to go a different direction. Tyjae Spears has actually looked pretty good so far this year. I could see Baltimore picking up the phone going, can we get the last season or two out of you and put together a guy that has kind of killed the Ravens in a lot of big matchups in the regular season and in the playoffs since like that, I wouldn't say rivalry was birthed, but since like 2018, those two teams have met a lot, and they've been great matchups.
Since the Titans upset the Ravens when the Ravens were the number one seed a few years back.
And then reversed it back, right?
Right.
When the Titans were the one seed themselves. So
yeah. I mean, I look at that situation there with the Ravens. You got Gus Edwards, who just had an 80-plus yard, 3-touchdown performance on Sunday. I think that kind of quieted down things as far as the trade goes. There was reports last week that the Ravens were on the phone with the Titans, that they liked the idea of Derrick Henry. They were the favorites to get something done. I thought if they were going to get a trade done for Derrick Henry, a running back, they would have done so last week. Now, with what you saw to Gus Edwards this week, I think they'd probably stand pat for now. Like the video. Let's get 50% of the audience to like today's show. We got over 1,100 people watching right now, 195 likes. It's kind of pathetic. Let's get to 500. Believe you want your team to make a trade. If you believe in your team, hit the like button. Show us some love. Hit that like button. Give it a little tickle. And we certainly would appreciate it. Helps out the algorithm so we can get more people to be a part of today's show as we're making progress.
Halfway there. 250 likes right now. So, yeah, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Now, if you want to get a shout-out on today's show, well, if you go ahead and we're going to do that right now, maybe not, I'm not sure. I'm getting a word in my ear right now. All right, a little bit inaudible, but yeah, hit the thumbs up button. 273 likes, still climbing our way to 500 likes. So with that being said, we're going to have you guys shout out your favorite NFL team, and we're going to talk about the first one we see. I like this game from our producers, Sam and Coop. So you close your eyes. I'll count you down. Start spamming your favorite NFL team.
All right.
First team we see in there. How about that?
I'm not looking.
Ready, Tyler? First team we see, you give
No, they're not.
Tyler, first team we see, you give someone they should trade for. I'll give someone they should trade away.
Okay.
Deal?
All right.
3, 2, 1, and Eagles.
Chiefs.
Okay. Go ahead. Chiefs, someone that you trade for.
Somebody they should trade for. I think the Chiefs need one more receiver for Patrick Mahomes.
Who is that guy?
You would like to say it's T. Higgins, but there's no way in hell the Bengals are giving him over to Kansas City.
No, the Bengals are right back in it quietly. They're 4-3.
Right. And I know that there's some reports this morning that the Bengals are getting calls for T. Higgins and all that. That'd be your first choice, but they're not getting that phone I'm watching for Marquise Brown.
Speaking of that, sorry, Jeremy Fowler just tweeted out himself that T. Higgins has garnered trade interest at the deadline as he did in the offseason, but Cincy is not expected to move the receiver. Every man's got a price, though.
Yes. So the most, I think, when we talk about realistic options, Marquise Brown, I think, is that guy. That Arizona Cardinals team is awful. Marquise Brown already in his second contract at this point. The Chiefs looking for a deep threat. They need some speed. That offense has kind of lacked that since Tyreek Hill left. Marquise Brown is a name to watch, and I don't think that his cost is going to be nearly as much as what the Cardinals paid for when they acquired him on draft night of last year. That's would be the move for Kansas City. What was the team you ended up?
I had the Eagles, and they've traded two people away. So I'm going to get a new team because we're running out of people to trade away from Philadelphia right now. They've already moved on from Terrell Edmonds and Contavious Street. If I had to add one more name, maybe Rashad Penny. DeAndre Swift has done so well in Philly that Rashad Penny, who was added in the offseason, has had pretty much a non-existent role on this offense. The Eagles like having a lot of depth at running back, so I don't think they're going to move Penny. But what if a team gives them like a fifth-round draft pick and the Philadelphia Eagles go, well, we can't turn down a fifth for a guy who barely steps on the field? That would be the only trade candidate I could see from the Eagles. But let's pick a new team because they've already made two trades of their own. Tyler, how about you? I'll close my eyes.
Okay.
A little peekaboo here action. Ready?
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
I got Cowgirls.
I got Saints.
Cowboys aren't trading anyone away. Neville Gallimore, their defensive tackle, they've got a lot of depth on the defensive line. So maybe Neville Gallimore could get some interest, but I don't think they're going to trade anyone away. Saints, they look like a team that's going to stand pat.
Yeah.
They're kind of in no man's land. Are they buyers? Are they sellers? They're kind of neither right now.
Kind of just are what they are.
Yeah.
Maybe they could use some secondary help potentially.
Yeah. Marcus May could get moved from New Orleans. I could see that. Alontae Taylor has been outstanding this year.
There was rumblings with the Saints about making a move for Pat Surtain a few days ago, but that ship may have sailed at this point. But the Saints are an interesting team because I look at that team, PD, that's a decent roster, but I don't trust the quarterback and I don't like the coach.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's do one more team and then we'll move on to the next portion of today's show.
Okay.
Ready? You close your eyes. I'll count you down. 3,
2,
1. Go for it.
I got the Bills.
I got the Texans.
No one circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills.
The Bills. Kyer Elam. I don't know if he'll be in Buffalo at the end of today. He was their first-round pick out of Florida not too long ago. He has been a healthy scratch for much of this season. Despite having Tre'Davious White go down, which you would think would prompt Elam into a bigger role, it actually hasn't worked out that way. So I could see Elam getting traded.
I got a name for you. This will ruffle some feathers potentially for Buffalo.
Yeah.
Damar Hamlin might get traded.
I have not thought about that.
He's not getting much
we got
playing
the
time.
Bills-Bengals game this Sunday night.
He's not getting much playing time.
Yeah.
And when we have seen him, he's been decent. Small sample size, but he's been kind of phased out. He's medically cleared and everything. If they're going to move on from anybody, it could be the end of Damar Hamlin's time in Buffalo, potentially.
All right, Texans really quickly. Denzel Perryman, maybe. Older linebacker. They got a lot of other good pieces, young pieces down in H-Town. All right, make sure to subscribe to the channel, by the way. We continue to grow here at Chat Sports, and we want you to join our growing NFL community, but we also talk about the NBA, college football, really anything with a ball that moves under the sun. So make sure to go ahead and hit the sub button if you have not already. Lock yourself in for year-round NFL content. We go live for the NFL trade deadline hours before other people do, Tyler.
Yes.
And plenty of other live events throughout the year.
I've been told that you eat corn the long way, according to Mitchell Renz, if you do not subscribe to Chat Sports.
Indeed. Okay, let's run through some of the trade candidates, shall we? Kind of go position by position. Let's start at quarterback, Tyler. Jacoby Brissett has been rumored to be available, and his old team, the Cleveland Browns, might need his services with Sean Watson's shoulder status just really murky right now. We're not quite sure when he's going to be able to return to the field 100%. maybe Brissett comes back. I don't think the Browns are going to offer enough for the Commanders to bite on it, though.
Yeah, I would be very interested in that with Brissett. He's the ideal backup, right? Because he's not good enough to be a starter in this league, but he's good enough to get the job done in those spot duty starts. And, whether it's going back to Cleveland, maybe it's a team like Minnesota that's trying to fill the gap with Kirk Cousins out, trying to be a playoff contender. Brissett could be the right guy for the scenario of just finishing out this season if you're looking for that quarterback.
One more name on this list I want to talk about, Ryan Tannehill. With the way Will Levis played in his NFL debut against Atlanta in Week 8, you got to think Tannehill's time in the Volunteer State is coming to a close. Ryan Tannehill, last year of his contract, I believe. I think if there's a team out there wanting to acquire a new quarterback, say the Minnesota Vikings, Tannehill should be available.
2 points on Tannehill. One, he's been awful, by the way.
He has been.
Very bad.
Yep.
2 touchdowns, 6 picks, 62% completion percentage. Do you really want Ryan Tannehill with that type of production that he's putting up right now? And then number 2, this is where I would give him the benefit of the doubt of sorts, potentially speaking. Remember when he left Miami, people had given up on him, goes to Tennessee, gets a fresh start, and then his career took off from there. You could make a case that maybe he needs to just make a fresh start potentially. That would be the other side of the coin I would give towards Ryan Tannehill, potentially speaking. Running back trade candidates, there are a lot of them, Petey.
There are indeed. I don't think Saquon Barkley is going to get moved, though. Dalvin Cook very well could get moved. He does not have a big role in this Jets offense. And Breece Hall should just never get off the field. He is, I think, at the end of the year, going to be viewed as a top 5 running back, no doubt about it, in this league. Derrick Henry appears to be staying in Tennessee, but it's the NFL. We've seen crazy stuff go down, but for now, it looks like he will finish the rest of the year with his team. And Ezekiel Elliott with the Patriots. If a team is looking for a good run blocking back and a good goal line back, New England should be sellers. Ernest Johnson with the Jags. He's their third RB. Tyler, what about Zach Moss? He was so good to start the year, but Jonathan Taylor's back now. So maybe Indy takes some calls on their sort of star-ish running back.
I think that's one of the biggest surprises to unfold the 2023 NFL season is that not only is Jonathan Taylor back in Indianapolis, but on a new contract, that they have moved forward this direction going with him. We probably thought a couple of months ago we'd be talking about him today. Now Zach Moss, not a bad option if you need a running back out there, but he wouldn't be my priority of sorts. I would be trying to call for Saquon or Dalvin or Derrick Henry, those guys first before I would with Zach Moss there. Rashad Penny is interesting too because when he has been healthy and gotten playing time, he's been a solid back. Problem is he can't stay healthy on a football field. Wide receiver trade candidates, there's a lot of these too. Devontae Adams had a weird press conference last night where he basically said everything except the words, I want to be traded, without saying it. You got the 2 receivers in Denver, Jeudy and Sutton, Marquise Brown, Paris Campbell, DeAndre Hopkins, Juju Smith-Schuster, Hunter Renfrow, Darnell Mooney, and Terrence Marshall on this list. Petey, who stands out to you?
Well, I'll add this to Devontae Adams. Despite the turbulent press conference he had yesterday, it does not appear the Raiders are going to be moving him. One name that jumps out to me, though, what about Hunter Renfrow?
Oh, we got a trade.
We got a trade coming in. Oh, what's the trade? Vikings have made a trade. All right. Speaking of quarterback trades, it is Arizona Cardinals quarterback Josh Dobbs getting traded from Arizona to Minnesota. Minnesota to replace, well, Kirk Cousins as he goes to IR with an Achilles injury. And the rookie Jaron Hall, he is not going to be the starting quarterback for now, it looks like. Or maybe Minnesota wanted a better backup QB. I'm not sold that Josh Dobbs will be the starting QB for the rest of the year just yet.
No, not sold just yet. It would be smart for them to see what they have in Jaron Hall anyway. Mm-hmm. But Joshua Dobbs, you look at that Cardinals team this year. They were bad, but Joshua Dobbs actually looked okay for that Cardinals team filling in that quarterback role. The talent around that Vikings team, we know what they have. They got some great weapons and everything. This is a team that still thinks they're a playoff contender of sorts. In reality, though, I don't think Josh Dobbs is going to salvage this Viking season by any means. It's not a bad move if you were looking for a quarterback, but I don't think it's enough to push the needle.
Yeah, don't have the details just yet. My inkling is not going to cost you a whole lot. I'm thinking he goes for a max 5th-round pick, but I think we're going to see something a little bit closer to a day 3 pick swap. So Josh Dobbs going to go up to Minnesota. Not quite sure if he's going to have the starting role handed to him week 1 or his first game there. I mean, it's Tuesday right now. They play in Atlanta on Sunday. My inkling is Jaren Hall will get that first start, but if things don't go well, we could see a quarterback change. So as we get the trade details, we'll update you guys. But initial reaction is it's a low-level trade, and it's going to get a low-level reaction out of me.
Yeah, and it also tells me that Kyler Murray is close.
Yes, indeed. Clayton Tune was actually named the starter this week for Arizona. So they play at Cleveland against the Browns, and Clayton Tune will be going for the Cardinals. So that already signaled to me Josh Dobbs was going to get traded pretty much no matter what. It was just a question as to where. So Josh Dobbs going up to his next team up in the frozen tundra of Minnesota.
Yeah, still waiting on full trade details there, but that is the update as the Cardinals move on from Josh Dobbs. They'll start Clayton Tune this week. Kyler Murray expect to be back soon. Josh Dobbs goes to Minnesota after the Kirk Cousins injury. And with that in mind, we'll switch gears to tight end trade candidates as we go back through this list. Zach Ertz in Arizona, Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki in New England, Kyle Pitts in Atlanta, and Darren Waller with the New York Giants. Pitts is the one that's interesting to me, Petey, because that's the youngest of the 5 players there, former top 5 pick, and got a ton of potential. You got a Falcons team that is in contention in this division. Why move on from Kyle Pitts?
I don't think Kyle Pitts gets moved. I do think there was something to Kyle Pitts not being in Atlanta, maybe long-term. Unfortunately, whether it's the scheme or whether it's just Kyle Pitts not being productive because of himself, there just hasn't been a great mesh since his 1,000-yard rookie season. So Kyle Pitts, 99% chance he stays in Atlanta. But if you're looking for a shocker of a trade, maybe the Falcons feel like they got better production from their backup tight end and Jonnu Smith, and if someone wants to blow them away with an offer they can't refuse, that could be a name that gets moved, but very unlikely. However, Zach Ertz, I think he very well could get traded.
Yeah, he very well could get traded. Zach Ertz, he's not the same player he was a couple of years ago when he was playing for the Philadelphia Eagles, and could be a good number 2 tight end option of some sorts. I heard this idea a few days ago, and it intrigued me on the Zach Ertz thing. We talked about Kansas City earlier. What if you had him as the number 2 to Travis Kelce and be that decoy to Kelce? That might revitalize Ertz's career potentially.
Yeah, very well could. With that, let's look at our Super Chat menu for today's show. So if you enjoy the free content we're putting out here and you want to throw a little bit of extra bones our way, we won't say no, but no pressure at all. But this is the Super Chat menu for today. Any Super Chat gets a shout-out. $2 Super Chat. Tell us your team. We'll talk about them. We'll give you our opinions and analysis on what they should or should not do. $5, I've got a whole list of hot trade takes ready to be shared. $10, it's a Beers Cheers. $20, we are in Studio B here at the Chat Sports Studios, and we are at 5 people, which the max is already at like 4-ish comfortably. So it'll be a good round of shots for all 5 of us working on these on this NFL trade deadline.
Yes. Plenty of shots to be had. They're around the shots. $20. You will not be disappointed when we get those shots going. That is the Super Chat menu. It's your only way you can get on the screen on today's show is by Super Chatting. $sign below the chat box if you want to contribute to that. Name a player you think will be traded today. Who is a player that comes to mind that you think is going to have a new home in just a few hours? Shout them out, and we'll shout you out in the chat. I'm already seeing Christopher Flores say Mac Jones. don't think that happens.
I don't think that one happens. Maybe in the offseason.
In the offseason, definitely.
That's a possibility then. How about a super chat coming? We'll get on screen in just a moment here. Let's talk Chase Young for a moment. I think Chase Young gets traded.
Yeah.
I think Chase Young gets a new home today.
If Montez Sweat got traded, Chase Young's getting traded. Montez Sweat the better player right now between the two.
Yeah, statistically, you're not wrong. I think Chase Young, where to? There's been some rumblings around the Falcons and the Browns. Initially, the Bears had a lot of rumblings, but they went with Montez Sweat instead. So there's going to be a lot of teams.
Pretty much everybody that needs an edge rusher has Chase Young on their list.
Steve Lickens with a $2 super chat. Let's talk about the Lions. We need a defensive end and a cornerback. Steve, cornerback, I don't think you're going to see Jalen Johnson go within the division, although Pat Surtain at one point was a very appetizing trade target. Denver's not going to move on from him. So if you're looking for a corner, I don't think you're going to find a corner that you would give up a first or second day draft pick for, but you might find a depth piece as someone CB3 that could be your CB2 for a 6th-round draft pick. Defensive end, Chase Young.
Chase Young. One guy I'm watching for today as a cheaper option, because when we look at these trade candidates, there's the two categories, right? There's, do I want to go all in and spend a lot, or am I looking for a discount buy?
Yeah.
The guy that's the discount buy that I think teams should be picking up the phone for, Carl Lawson of the New York Jets. Probably only going to cost you about a 6th-round pick. He had 7 sacks a season ago. He's made it known he wants out of New York. That's a guy, if I'm the Lions or a number of teams, I'm looking for a defensive end, a pass rusher, keep an eye on Carl Lawson today.
Ethan Huff, next one up in the show. Let's talk about the Denver Broncos. If the trade deadline was 2 weeks ago, the tune in Denver would be very different. But what I'm hearing from Mile High is the Broncos have won 2 in a row. They're at 3-5. Sean Payton came into the season wanting to win this year. Go back to the preseason. He had starters playing in the 4th quarter of preseason games. He is committed to winning now. You don't do that by trading Jeudy and Sutton away. Now, of course, if you're sitting at 2-6, you got to take your medicine and understand what's out in front of you. But at 3-5, winning 2 in a row, knocking off the Chiefs, I think Denver feels like they are in a spot where they can maybe make a little bit of a second-half push, and they don't want to break up the band. So ultimately, I do not expect many trades at all coming out of the Mile High City.
But I would say, Petey, very curious what you think on this. When you look at that Broncos team, I think they're probably saying to themselves, we have too much invested to just give up right now. We're paying Russell Wilson, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Sean Payton. They got to at least let the circus go on and play itself out before the donkey falls off the wagon.
Yeah. Maybe Josie Jewell gets moved. They drafted his replacement in Drew Sanders. He forced a fumble in the win against Kansas City, so maybe an off-ball linebacker trade. How about that, Ethan? Jimmy Productions, next one up on the show at a $5 super chat, too. Will the Vikings trade for another quarterback, too, other than Dobbs? No. Josh Dobbs is the quarterback move they made. I don't think you're going to see another quarterback move get made. If you're looking for a hot trade take, though, I initially had Josh Dobbs going back to the Browns to play the Cardinals this upcoming Sunday against his former team, with his former team, which would have to be a first, right? Started with the Browns, went to the Cardinals, went back to the Browns, and then played the Cardinals. So, unfortunately, that's out the window. If you do want a hot trade take, speaking of Ethan's Denver Broncos, what about a Cortland Sutton trade? He has 6 touchdowns already. That ties his single-season record. A team, say, New England initially would have sounded good, but they don't look like they're in a buy mode right now.
Right.
So a team looking for a wide receiver, Cortland Sutton, say, to the Atlanta Falcons, that could be a fun trade to keep an eye on.
Could be potentially. Another one from a sniper writes in, tank for the New York Giants. If so, who do we draft next year? I don't think they're in the official tank because they'd be trading Saquon Barkley. And the last reports that we heard sound like they're going to hang on to Saquon here. So if you're a New York Giants fan, you got to be frustrated that they're kind of just going to hold serve as they are. You did move on from Leonard Williams. That was nice to get the 2nd and 5th. But if you're going to be really tanking, wouldn't it be now the time to cash in and get something out of Saquon?
I was talking to our Giants guy, Marshall Green, and maybe there was a bit of an under-the-table handshake agreement of, I'll sign this 1-year contract, right? But don't trade me. Like, I don't want to get traded midseason. I want to play for Big Blue all season long. So maybe that's the reason why Saquon's not getting moved. But if they are tanking, Caleb Williams is the guy to tank for. Also, New York needs a ton of help on that offensive line. What about Olu, the left tackle for Penn State? Evan Neal's not working out at tackle. Move him to guard. If you get a top 5 pick, get Olu at left or right tackle, Andrew Thomas on the other side, Evan Neal at guard, and that's a lot better of an offensive line for whoever's playing quarterback for New York moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that team, though, like, I'm done with Daniel Jones.
I agree.
I look at this quarterback class of what's coming out this upcoming year, not just Caleb Williams, but Drake May, potentially Shedeur Sanders, Quinn Ewers, a number of guys, a really good quarterback class in 2023. I think they'd be a lot better off upgrading that quarterback, prioritizing that, than take care of the offensive line after that. We'll see. Juarez, 84. Checking in from Juarez, Mexico, potentially, with a $5 super chat.
Spelled differently.
Yes. Would love to see the Falcons make a move for Trey Lance and Carl Lawson. Petey Falks, what do you think?
So Trey Lance has been an interesting name during the trade deadline. The Cowboys traded for him, I think, for a reason. And it was not to be the backup quarterback for the first 2.5 months of the season. Like, I think they want to hold on to Trey Lance for a little bit longer. Now, if they get a good offer, obviously they'll play ball. But they gave up, what was it, a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance?
Right.
I don't think they want to turn around a few months later and trade him for a 6th-rounder. I think Trey Lance stays still. As for Carl Lawson, with Grady Jarrett going down, I could definitely see Atlanta adding an edge rusher like Carl Lawson. Have him join Ebiketie, Lorenzo Carter, Bud Dupree, and add to this edge rusher committee grouping. Now, before we get to the rest of the Super Chats and trade content on today's show is being supported by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy sports app where all you have to do is pick more or less for 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. What I love about Prize Picks, Tyler, it's really simple and user-friendly. Like, you don't get lost in the sauce on the app or anything like that. All I do, spend like 1 to 2 minutes on the app every Sunday morning, every Monday morning, every Thursday. I might have a bit of a problem, but that's not an issue right now because with Prize Picks, you can make so many great selections. For the Sunday morning game over in Frankfurt, I'm taking less on Tua Tagovailoa's passing yards, and I'm taking the more on Patrick Mahomes. I think we see a bounce back from Patrick Mahomes, and I think we see Tua maybe get tunnel vision trying to feed Tyreek Hill too much, which is probably not a bad idea, but I still like the less in this one. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. The link for that, by the way, is in the comments and description of today's show. Thank you to Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Trade details coming in now on the Joshua Dobbs deal to Minnesota. The Vikings get Dobbs in a 7th-round pick. Cardinals receive a 6th-round pick in the deal. The Vikings not giving up a ton and getting that 7th-round pick, just a little pick swap action. I don't hate this for Minnesota.
I know it's kind of interesting to think about the Josh Dobbs life cycle this year because he was traded from the Browns to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals gave up a 5th-rounder for him. So they swapped a 5th and got a 6th back for 8 games of Josh Dobbs, which I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all, but it's just kind of interesting that was the Arizona Cardinals' approach for the first half of the year of, we'll change it. We'll trade a 5th and a half for 8 weeks of Joshua Dobbs service. But ultimately, the Vikings get a good quarterback addition to their room. I am not guaranteeing Josh Dobbs is going to be the starter moving forward. Jaren Hall, the rookie out of BYU, is likely going to start this Sunday on a short week down in Atlanta. Who's to say if Jaren Hall has a Will Levis NFL debut, they're going to go to Josh Dobbs. So I think it's a good insurance policy by Minnesota, but by no means does this mean that Josh Dobbs is the guaranteed starter up in Minneapolis.
Yeah, no question about it. Jaren Hall will get his chance, and there's some optimism in that camp about Jaren Hall, at least more so than what we saw with their former Texas A&M backup quarterback a couple years ago. You know, that was a disaster. But there's the trade details. Joshua Dobbs and a 7th-round pick in exchange for a 6th-round pick. Comment section, your chance to shout out potentially your favorite team or the team you hate, whatever it may be. Who is the best team in the NFL right now? Let us know in that chat. We'll shout you out. We'll show you some love. And we get some super chats to get to as well. Let's start with you, Petey. The best team in the NFL is?
The NFL this year, I'll just add, is kind of like college football this year. No one wants to be good, really, right? Like, the Chiefs could have had that opportunity because the Niners looked like the best, and then San Francisco dropped 3 in a row. But Kansas City just lost in Denver, their first loss there since 2014. So I think I got to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Eagles have looked shaky at times this year. Now, they're going to get the benefit of the doubt, and they deserve it, and they are winning games. So I go with the Eagles, but it's up in the air right now. Like, the Super Bowl is a few months away, and it's anyone's guess as to which 2 teams are going to be playing in it.
You know, I totally get everything you just said there, and for me, it's twofold. For one, yes, the Eagles look like the best team on the football field right now. But there's a part of me that looks at that Kansas City Chiefs team, even with the loss of Denver and all that says, until somebody actually beats them in a postseason game where it matters, I can't take it away from that title away from the Kansas City Chiefs. Because here's what history tells us, too, with Kansas City. They are a different team in the postseason compared to what we see in the regular season. Andy Reid hardly opens up the playbook in the regular season. They hold things back. They, I believe, will be a different team come playoff time than what we're seeing now. So, until said otherwise, it's hard to say Kansas City's not that best team for me. Check it in the chat. Corey says the Falcons. Salvi says the Jags. Franklin says the Fins. GR15 says the Seahawks. Zabreezy says the Chiefs. Hollywood says Miami. Carlos says the Ravens. I got Dwayne says the Bengals. Mikey with a $2 super chat checking in says Giants use a second from Seattle. Bring in T. Higgins for a 3-year deal. That sounds nice, but it's going to take a whole lot more than that for a T. Higgins trade.
I think it would cost a first to get T. Higgins. Like the Bengals,
first and probably more.
The weird thing about the Bengals is, do they feel like if they can win a Super Bowl this year with T. Higgins, then it's great. But if not, then you might as well trade him, right? Because you're not going to bring him back.
Petey, it was great to have you here with us for this first hour. You were off to the Browns report.
Yep. So, Browns fans watching right now, go check out the Browns report by Chat Sports. We'll be live over there.
And the Browns just, not a trade, but Kenyon Drake added to the roster.
Yep, and James Prochet, the wide receiver.
So he'll have more on that over the Browns report. Go check him out. The Browns report. Petey, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you later. We continue. Jack Sperry is going to join me in just a few moments from Pittsburgh Steelers Talk, as well as the Commanders report. We'll get his insights as he steps in just a matter of moments. In the meantime, though, let's get to some super chats. Jake, with a $2 super chat, says, does Cincy make a move today, and if so, who? I think Cincy's going to kind of ride with what they got here at this point. You look at that Cincinnati Bengals team, a big win this past Sunday against San Francisco, and as Joe Burrow continues to get healthier and healthier, that should elevate that play of the team just as a whole, just by getting him back to full strength. So I'm not expecting a move from Cincinnati, but we'll monitor that and see if something else happens. Another super chat coming in from High Stakes writes in, Johnson, Moore, or Surtain, cornerback for the Steelers, make a move here. Man, if the Steelers found a way to get Patrick Surtain, that would be something else. I would be very surprised if that happens, because it sounds like the Broncos are backing down from trade conversation, but something to monitor potentially there. High Stakes, thanks for the $2 super chat. Preston with another $2 super chat checks in and says, does the NFC West leader make another trade, referring to the Seattle Seahawks. As much as I would like to see the Seahawks make another move, this is a situation for Seattle where they're in a position of strength now. They don't have to make a trade because of need. They'd be making a trade because they want to add depth and because they want to necessarily. There's some names out there, like Carl Lawson and others, that they could potentially make a move for and not cost them a whole lot, but I don't think they have to do that necessarily. But Preston, thanks for the question, that $2 super chat there. Matador Mike with a $2 super chat. Houston may be buying Chase Young and a running back. I think Chase Young is going to have his name called by somebody before the end of the day. With the Commanders already moving on from Montez Sweat, you have to think Chase Young is next. Houston, that's an interesting possibility. I think what really happens, though, is whoever brings in Chase Young is probably going to be a contending team of some sorts that's going to be aggressive as we get closer to put their team over the edge. Houston, not necessarily a contending team. Adding a running back, maybe for Houston. We'll see. Big Bo writes in with a $2 super chat. What are we hearing about the 49ers moves? Still waiting to see what the 49ers do. I think we all expect John Lynch to make a move potentially before the end of the day. What that exactly is, but don't rule out the Niners getting aggressive. Right now, they've lost 3 in a row. They're in second place in the NFC West. We'll see what the Niners could potentially do. Josh says, are we hearing anything out of Indy? We're monitoring to see if Zach Moss potentially gets moved. With Jonathan Taylor staying around, getting that new contract, now there's some questions about if we will see Indy potentially move at that running back position as far as that goes. But that's a team that is selling, that is not looking to be buyers, is what it would appear at this point. So Josh, thanks for that $5 super chat, and we appreciate all the super chats that are rolling in. And here's the deal. For every $100 in super chats today, we're taking shots around the house. We're at $54 right now, so we need about 45 more to make everybody drink in here. I know it's a Tuesday afternoon. It's the middle of the workday, but it's never too early to be drinking. We'll get the drinking started once we get to $100 in super chats. Shots for everybody as we're $45 away. Speaking of the super chat menu, here is what we are offering the folks right now. Any super chat gets you on screen, gets you a shout out. It's the only way to be seen on today's show is by sending in a super chat. $2 super chat, we'll talk about your favorite team. Even if your favorite team is the DC Defenders, we'll find a way to talk about them as well. $5 super chat, we'll give you some hot trade takes. We'll throw some ideas out there that could be off the wall for me and Sperry both. $10 super chat, we'll salute you, give you a little beer cheers. I got a Happy Dad hard seltzer in hand. I'm going to go with the lemon lime version, straight from the great state of Texas, with a $10 super chat. Every $20 super chat, we'll do a round of shots as well on the house. We begin a brand new hour of NFL trade deadline coverage here on NFL Daily, as well as Seahawks Today and Steelers Talk. Tyler Jones here with you, alongside my partner in crime for the rest of the afternoon, Jack Sperry. And we already have had a couple of notable deals go down, beginning yesterday with the Seahawks bringing in Leonard Williams, and then the biggest move of the morning so far, Montez Sweat heading to Chicago, and Joshua Dobbs going to the Minnesota Vikings. We will catch you up to speed on everything that's happened so far. We'll react to trades from around the league in real time on today's show. As you guys file in and get this show started, whether you're watching on Seahawks Today, Steelers Talk, or NFL Daily, shout out your city. We'll shout you out as we get things going. Jack Sperry, welcome in. Happy Tuesday. Happy Halloween to you. Trade deadline day. I know it's Halloween, but it feels like Christmas morning.
Yeah, happy Halloween, happy trade deadline day, guys. It's a very exciting day around the National Football League. Already getting a little bit busy, and something tells me, Tej, over these next 2 hours here on NFL Daily Live, we are going to get some massive news around the National Football League. I can't wait to cover with you right here on Chat Sports. Make sure you shout out your city down there in the chat right now. T, do you want to get us going with some shout-outs here?
Yeah, let's get this going here. I'm going to start on the NFL Daily Chat, and then we'll go from there. XD Gamer in Jackson. I got Seagriff in Cincy. I got Nicholas in Detroit. Got Brian in Detroit. I got Joel in Philly. I got Roman in Atlanta. I got Brock Green in St. Louis. I got Ridge, Houday, Cincy, checking on the Seahawks chat. I got Shakar in Atlanta. I got Jung Hong in Anchorage, Alaska. Leo in Clinton, Washington. Ricky Hernandez in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, the home of Middle Tennessee State. I got Jacob in Greenville, South Carolina. I got Doughboy in New York. I got Ronald in Virginia. I got Beta YT also in the house from Clemson, South Carolina. Beast Mode in Savannah. And Sperry, who's watching on Steelers Talk?
All right, I want to shout out some of my yinzers in the chat right now. Cassie Voth, my girlfriend, gets the first one today. Hot Rod 24, what's up, my dude? Buggy, Teresa, Brian, IQ. We've got from Barberton, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Columbus, Ohio. I saw Corpus Christi. Where else are we getting here? We got Indonesia. Jesus, man. Steelers is an absolutely international brand there, teacher. I absolutely love it. We got people from New York in here. We got Greensboro. We got Barberton. We've got Columbus. We got Utah. We got Jupiter, Florida in the chat right now. Oh, my goodness. Austin Tardif, my man, is here. One of the real ones from Steelers Talk. Let's go, Austin. I love it, my friend. Let's get things going. Can't wait to get things going here on NFL Daily.
Yeah, we got a full house. For all of our watchers that may be wondering where some familiar faces are, for Steelers Talk fans, Coop is here. Seahawks Today viewers, Smitty is here, and Sam Brown is orchestrating everything as well. So a full house on deck. We'll bring them in when necessary on today's show. The most recent trade of the last hour, the Minnesota Vikings acquire Joshua Dobbs as well as a conditional 7th-round pick. The Cardinals receive a 6th-round pick. The Vikings, this is a team that lost Kirk Cousins for the rest of the season with a torn Achilles. They still believe, despite what their record may say otherwise, that they are a playoff contending caliber team. You make this move. Sperry, I'll say this, Josh Dobbs' credit, although the Cardinals have been awful, he's actually done okay.
Yeah, he's been okay.
This isn't a bad idea for the Minnesota Vikings. You didn't give up a ton. You're going to try Jaren Hall first, and then if he doesn't quite look right, you go to Joshua Dobbs. I don't hate it for Minnesota.
Yeah, I was expecting maybe a bigger move today from them, maybe a Ryan Tannehill or a Jacoby Brissett
Tannehill
potentially.
looked worse than Dobbs did this year.
That is absolutely true. I mean, goodness gracious, Ryan Tannehill might be cooked at this point, let's be honest, but Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, has already said that Jaren Hall, the 5th-round rookie out of BYU, is going to be the starter this weekend for the Minnesota Vikings, not Joshua Dobbs. They're gonna transition him in, and he's gonna be the backup quarterback to Jaren Hall. So it's definitely gonna be interesting to see how Hall does in the starting role here in Minnesota. I actually broke down some of his games in the preseason, and he actually looked okay. He has a little bit of a playmaking instinct. He moves around in the pocket well. He can throw from different arm angles. Jaren Hall is an interesting quarterback prospect for the Minnesota Vikings. Is he going to get you into playoff contention in any serious way? Maybe not if you're a Vikings fan, but if you're up in Minnesota right now, and I got a lot of family in Minnesota, I'm personally from Minnesota, lots of people hurting after the Kirk Cousins Achilles tear. Jaren Hall is somebody that you can look at right now and maybe have a little bit of hope for. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the 2023 campaign shakes out for the purple and gold.
The other thing on the Arizona side, real quick, this tells me that Kyler Murray's got to be very close.
Yes, and we've been hearing a bunch about teams calling them about potential trade interest in Kyler Murray, and they've shut him down. So they obviously believe in Kyler Murray. They think he's going to be coming back relatively soon. It sounds like Clayton Tune is going to be the quarterback this weekend, but the next week, could it be Kyler Murray? I think it absolutely could. And you know what? I'm very interested to see how Kyler looks in this West Coast offense and Drew Petzing's offense there in the desert. It's going to be a very interesting end to the 2023 season for the Cardinals, in my opinion.
The biggest trade of the day so far, the Chicago Bears bring in Montez Sweat from the Washington Commanders in exchange for a 2024 second-round pick. Sperry, I look at this deal here. The Bears, their big missing piece that they didn't really establish this offseason was getting an edge rusher. Yeah, they brought in Yannick Ngakoue, but that was a short-term solution for a long-term problem. Now I know they gave up a second-round pick, and that's a lot. But then you have to pay him as well.
Yeah.
I understand it wasn't cheap on the part of the Bears here, but they just found their premier pass rusher for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, Montez Sweat, somebody that I was a big fan of. I cover the Washington Commanders here at Chat Sports as well as the Steelers. And, personally, I wanted the Commanders to find a way to keep both Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Maybe it was a bit of wishful thinking to think that they could keep both of them. They already paying Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne, their defensive tackles, big money. It's going to be really tough to pay all 4 members of that defensive line if you're the Commanders. And you get a really good, interesting trade piece here and trade asset in that second-round pick. The Bears stink this year, guys. Plain and simply. With respect to our Bears host here, Harrison Graham, they just got ramrodded by the Los Angeles Chargers on Sunday Night Football, and the Chargers have had their struggles this year, okay? So, at the end of the day, Montez Sweat, great run defender, one of the best run-defending edges in the National Football League, freak athlete. His relative athletic score at the draft combine was actually higher than Chase Young's, and we all know how crazy of an athlete Chase Young is. So Montez Sweat, great pickup for the Chicago Bears. Maybe not quite as good of a true pass rusher as Chase Young right now. I know Montez technically has more sacks, but really Montez was cleaning up after Chase Young's pressures this year. Chase Young is top 5 in pressures in the National Football League. So
let me ask you about the Commanders' perspective here.
Sure.
They get the 2024 second-round pick, and it kind of signals that the rebuild is on, right? That
100%.
Going to start making all these moves here. But with that said, to me, it's kind of interesting that you're doing this rebuild, but yet coach and management might not get to reap the rewards of said rebuild. We're going to have you started, but you're all going to be fired in a few weeks anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Ron Rivera, I said it since the beginning of this season, with the new ownership group there in Washington, Josh Harris, Magic Johnson, all these different guys coming in. They don't owe Ron Rivera anything. He's missed the playoffs the last 2 years. If he doesn't make the playoffs here this season, he's probably out of here. And they're saying, hey, we're going to trade Montez Sweat, and we might still trade Chase Young too. Better make the playoffs, though, or you're gone. They're really putting Ron Rivera in a tough spot here. But overall, I do like what I'm seeing here from the Washington Commanders. I think this second-round pick is going to work out for them in the long run.
The Eagles and the Falcons making a trade there. The Falcons getting some help on the defensive line. That's a team that believes that they're a playoff team. Get that addition on that front. This Falcons team might be a sneaky good football team here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting with the quarterback situation. We know Desmond Ridder has not been good. Taylor Heineke, I don't think, is going to be much better for you. They have a great run game there with Bijan and, Tyler Algier, all these guys that they've got there. They can run the football, and their defense is actually okay, but they're missing some pass rush, and that's what they're trying to address here with Kentavious Street. I think Street's more of a rotational piece than anything here. Tej, they might be in the running here for potentially getting Chase Young. If Washington is still looking to deal Chase Young by the deadline today, I could absolutely see the Falcons bring him in. I like where the Falcons are in terms of their defense. If they can bring in a premier pass rusher for the future like Chase Young, they have lots of young players there. I like A.J. Terrell. I like Jesse Bates. Really like what they got going on right now. And if you add Chase Young to that lineup there of pass rushers, Calais Campbell and company there, I think the Falcons could have a really good defensive unit personally.
Yeah, certainly so. Let's talk about the Seahawks. Their big trade, bringing in Leonard Williams from the New York Football Giants in exchange for a 2024 second-round pick and a 2025 fifth-round pick. The Giants take on most of the remaining contract this year for Leonard Williams, with the idea of them getting the better draft capital. Now, I look at this trade. It's interesting. You look at that Seattle Seahawks team, and we've seen so far this year, Sperry, they've run 2-man fronts, 3-man fronts, 4-man fronts. We know Jaron Reed can play inside and he can play outside both. Now you have that with Leonard Williams here. I know it's a lot, and I understand that. but I expect Leonard Williams to get a second contract. You know, he'll be on there beyond the rest of this season. But in Seattle's case here, the flexibility. I know you're a big X's and O's guy. For the Seahawks here to now say, you know what? We can put guys inside, we can put them outside, we can mix and match, and get really creative here. I'm very interested to see what Clint Hurtt's going to dial up now that he can get even more creative, adding a player like Leonard Williams.
Yeah, Seattle's pass rush has been definitely up and down this year. Leonard Williams is definitely the most talented player on their defensive line right now, in my opinion. I don't think there's even a doubt about that.
You like him better than Draymond Jones?
Yeah, I do like him better than Draymond Jones in terms of pure pass rushing right now. Sure. I like Draymond Jones quite a bit, but Leonard Williams does bring you that extra element on the inside. Like you said, he does have that versatility. He can play on the edge if you need him to. He can play inside at that 5 technique position. Very talented player. It is quite a bit, a second-round pick and a fifth-rounder for a guy like this. But listen, Pete Carroll and what's the GM's name in Seattle again? Josh Schneider. They clearly believe in this Seattle Seahawks team. They clearly believe in Geno Smith, what they got going with that trio of wide receivers that they got in there right now. I mean, they're playing good football, and now they're really making an investment at this pass rush right now. Really like this move for both teams. Can't wait to see what the Seahawks are going to do for the rest of the year.
All right, right now on our NFL Daily Live channel, we have about, 462 likes. We want half the audience. We just need half of you to like today's video. So if you're not a loser, if you're not a hater or a loser, if you're having a great Halloween, hit the like button. If you want your team to make a trade, hit the like button. If you could not think of a better way to spend your Tuesday afternoon than with Jonesy and Sperry, hit the like button. That's all I'm asking. I don't ask for a lot. Just like the video, please. That helps us get this video out to as many people as possible so they can join us and be a part of what we're doing here on our live coverage of NFL Daily. Couple tweets to get to. What do they call it now on X? Are they still tweets?
Posts. They're posts now, yeah.
Whatever, Elon. Albert Breer of the Monday Morning QB. The Commanders have taken calls on backup QB Jacoby Brissett, but the price has been prohibitive for other teams. They've asked for a day 2 pick. We'll see if the price comes down with Josh Dobbs going for a late-round pick swap. Sperry, I look at Jacoby Brissett. That's a guy that if you need a short-term quarterback, not a bad solution. He's not a long-term starter, but he can win football games in the interim.
Yeah, if you put enough around him, you protect him, you give him weapons that can get open in the pass game. He proved last year in Cleveland that he can be a good starting quarterback when you give the proper help around him. Now, there's going to be a couple teams that get discussed here. New York, I really don't think the Jets are going to be trading for a quarterback, but that's a possibility. Minnesota, I don't think is no longer a possibility. I think Petey talked about Cleveland as a potential landing spot. I know on Brown's Twitter right now, there's a lot of people saying, bring back Jacoby Brissett. But I hate to break it to you, Washington, you're not going to get a day 2 pick for this guy. You're just not. He is a Band-Aid for whoever's going to trade for him. And right now, when I look at Jacoby Brissett, I would be happy as the Commanders host here at Chat Sports to get a 5th-round pick for him. I would be happy to get that. If Cleveland offered me a 5th-round pick right now for Jacoby Brissett, I'm absolutely taking that deal. You get an extra 5th-rounder to help build your franchise moving forward. And, Sam Howell, I think, has looked really good. Even if he gets hurt, I think you're punting on the season. I like where Sam Howell's at right now. I would trade Jacoby Brissett.
Jeff Howell of The Athletic moments ago posting, still sounds weird to say.
Yeah.
Despite some speculation, the Patriots have not received any trade calls for quarterback Mac Jones. And based on the way Mac Jones has played this year, I don't know why anyone would want to make any calls for Mac Jones right now. Listen, the Patriots are going to have a new quarterback in 2024.
Probably, yes.
I would think that call to try to get something is probably next year. If you're looking for Mac Jones to salvage your season at the moment, that ain't the answer right now.
No, it's not. Mac Jones has really struggled this year, and I feel bad for him, Teacher. I really do. This offensive situation the last 2 years in New England has just not been it. Last year you have Matt Patricia calling the plays. I mean, goodness gracious. And then, this year, Bill O'Brien just has not been able to get the job done.
All right, spam me in the chat for a shout-out. Oh, trade.
There's a trade.
Hold on the main. Timeout. We have a trade.
There's a
Ezra
trade.
Cleveland, the offensive guard from the Minnesota Vikings, headed to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this deal coming down just a few moments ago. The Vikings made a trade earlier for Joshua Dobbs. Now they send Ezra Cleveland away. We're waiting on the details here, but you look at this Jags team. They're by far the favorites in their division. They needed a little bit of offensive line help. Ezra Cleveland's a pretty decent football player. This is a good pickup for the Jags.
Yeah, I like this move from the Jaguars. I think it's a little bit interesting from the Vikings because, they just bought a quarterback at the trade deadline here, and now they're selling one of their interior offensive linemen. So could we see more Vikings players traded by the end of the afternoon? I don't think Danielle Hunter's going anywhere today, but this is definitely going to be interesting to see what the trade details look like coming in.
Second-round pick, Ezra Cleveland, by the way.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And, this is going to be definitely interesting to see these details come in. Ezra Cleveland's a good player. You just traded for a new quarterback. You just traded the guy that's going to be protecting him. So it's definitely an interesting move by Kwesi here, the GM of the Minnesota Vikings. Tej, what do you think about this? Because the Jacksonville Jaguars definitely need more protection for Trevor Lawrence. That's kind of been a soft spot for them this year.
So I'm waiting to see what the trade details are because this is a head-scratcher for me on Minnesota's end of things. Because
me too.
You look at the PFF grades.
Sixth round
rounder,
pick.
that's it?
Oh, my goodness,
That's a dumb trade from Minnesota's part. Think about this. A couple days ago, the last I looked, the PFF grades on Ezra Cleveland, I believe he was in the 70s across the board.
I'll check on that right now.
We'll see
but
if the numbers have changed.
I think he's been doing pretty darn well. The entire offensive line in Minnesota has actually done pretty darn well.
Who did he piss off?
I don't know. They did
It's a huge win for Jacksonville. This is a stupid trade by Minnesota.
Yeah, Ezra Cleveland, 73.8. He's currently the 8th highest graded offensive guard in football.
For a 6th-round pick?
For a 6th-rounder. I guess, you look at the trade value proposition here, interior offensive lineman, it's a lower value position, but you're getting a top 10 guard in the National Football League for a 6th-round pick.
I don't get that.
I know my dad right now is probably watching this right now. He's a huge Vikings fan. He probably hates this trade right now. You're giving up a really good player.
Okay, who won the trade, Jags or Vikings? Spam J. If I see a V in there, I'm going to be just shaking my head and wondering, you don't know ball if you're spamming V right now. It's clearly the Jags, and it's not even close. Just a 6th-round pick? That's it.
I can't believe this. I really can't believe this from somebody that, has a ton of Vikings fans that are friends and family. I'm going to get a ton of texts tonight about this trade because this is awful from the Minnesota Vikings, in my opinion. I don't know what they're thinking here. A 6th-round pick for a top 10 guard in the league, it's either they don't believe in Ezra Cleveland long-term and they just wanted to get something for him while they still could, or they just don't know what they're doing.
Also, interesting note here, he reunites with offensive line coach Phil Rosher, who was with Cleveland, with Ezra Cleveland back in Minnesota. So some familiarity going to Jacksonville here.
Yeah, absolutely. They did bring in Dalton Reisner. For some reason, the Vikings really like Ed Ingram as well. So it seems like they're just unloading somebody here for Ezra for a 6th-round pick. The big thing with this is that the hit rate on that 6th-round pick is not going to be nearly the value of Ezra Cleveland here, in my opinion. Yes, you're probably going to have, a 5% chance of getting a starter with that 6th-round pick. You're trading away a bona fide top 10 interior offensive lineman. I don't get this trade whatsoever by the Minnesota Vikings, especially because they just traded for a quarterback. Really don't understand this one from Minnesota's end, in my opinion.
That's a head-scratcher. Let's take a look now at the trade candidates at the edge rusher position. One already off the board, Montez Sweat, is headed to Chicago, but Chase Young remains available, as does Preston Smith, Josh Uche, Yannick Ngakoue, Carl Lawson, Danielle Hunter, Brian Burns. Sperry, there are a lot of good edge rushers. If you need an edge rusher, you have no excuse. You have plenty of choices to choose from here.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of choices here. Danielle Hunter, don't really think he's going to get moved today. The Vikings have said they want at least a 1st-rounder for him. I don't think anyone's going to be willing to pay that price. Chase Young is going to be something to keep your name on. They already dealt Montez Sweat. Could they potentially get another 2nd-round draft pick in next year's draft for Chase Young? I guess we'll have to see on that. Preston Smith still has multiple years left on his deal. I really don't know if he's going to get dealt today. Josh Uche is very interesting, very athletic guy from New England. Carl Lawson, definitely another guy too. Brian Burns, I love Brian Burns. I think the Carolina Panthers asking price is going to be a little bit too high. Not sure he's going to get dealt, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Inside linebacker trade candidates: Devin Bush, Josey Jewell, Patrick Queen, Denzel Perryman. I would be shocked if Patrick Queen gets dealt, personally. Devin Bush, it's interesting because he was brought in before they knew that they were signing Bobby Wagner and before they knew Jordan Brooks was going to be healthy.
Yeah.
So they don't really have a need for Devin Bush anymore in Seattle necessarily. Josey Jewell, I think, is the one probably the most likely to get dealt of these inside linebackers.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, Denver, they say they're not doing a full-scale fire sale mode right now, but I think they definitely are. They're willing to get rid of some of these pieces for the right compensation. I would agree that Patrick Queen, probably unlikely today. The Ravens are playing really good football.
I think they're actually going to extend Patrick Queen.
I mean, that'd be interesting if they extend him and they're paying both Queen and Roquan Smith at the inside linebacker position, especially after just paying Lamar Jackson. So that'll be interesting to see moving forward. But Devin Bush, Seattle Seahawks, you know, he played with my Pittsburgh Steelers last year. He was old and slow last year. He's definitely getting close to cooked status at this point in his career, in my opinion. My Steelers audience knows well how many tackles he missed for the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. And now we take a look at some of these cornerback trade targets here. There's quite a few cornerbacks to choose from. Kaiir Elam, a former top draft pick out of the University of Florida. Adoree Jackson, a former number one corner in this league, hasn't lived up to that status this season. Kind of a big contract too. Not sure how many teams would be interested in him. Jalen Johnson is the guy that we're keeping our eye on here, especially my Steelers audience. Apparently the Steelers are looking for a corner and they're locked in on Jalen Johnson. Kenny Moore, another good player, former Pro Bowler. Any team would love to have a Kenny Moore on their team. Great person too. Marcus Peters and Patrick Surtain is probably not going to happen tonight. I think that they're probably going to ask for 2 first-rounders and maybe even a player. I really don't think the Broncos are going to get that at this point.
He's the guy that teams would want the most.
Yes, but he's probably the least likely to get traded.
Right. In Jalen Johnson's case, requested the trade this morning with the deadline coming up later this afternoon, you know, in less than 2 hours from right now here. Jalen Johnson, that could be a difference maker for somebody. What's it going to take to get a Jalen Johnson deal done?
Well, the Bears are saying right now, or the people surrounding the Bears organization, the reporters are saying a day 2 pick at least is what they're looking for. So probably a round 2 pick. Right now, the teams associated with the Jalen Johnson rumors are my Pittsburgh Steelers, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Look for one of those teams to potentially get a deal done before 4 p.m. Eastern here on the deadline. I really think Jalen Johnson's an excellent player. Well, any team would be lucky to have him. He's one of the top-graded corners in the league. Now, the safety trade candidates, there's even more safeties that we have listed here. Buda Baker, probably not going to happen, but he did request a trade earlier this year. Julian Blackmon, Jeremy Chin, Kyle Duggar. Kyle Duggar is a Swiss Army knife extraordinaire there in New England. I don't think Belichick is going to want to get rid of him just because he's so valuable to what they do there with the Patriots. Kareem Jackson, another Denver player listed. Xavier McKinney can play free safety, strong safety, can play in the slot. Super, super versatile player, just like Kyle Duggar. And the Giants are definitely selling because they traded Leonard Williams. Harrison Smith, a bit older, but great instincts. And then Justin Simmons, more of a true free safety. Denver's definitely going to be looking to move some people here before the deadline, in my opinion.
So let's get active in that chat. Chat's been a little quiet, not going to lie right now. Time to wake up. We got 90 minutes till the deadline, folks. Spam me in the chat. Sperry's shouting everybody out that spams me. Our last record last year was 601. Can we beat that this time? Spam me. I want to see as many as we can over this next minute. We'll let the clock get down to 34. Here we go.
All right.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I see Jesus in there. I see Bryant. I see Chester. I see MG. I see Steve. I see Christopher. I see Grant. I see Justin. I see Broncos Country. I see AG. I see Colin. I see Steve. I see Brody. I see William. I see Nick Martinez. I see Luis Gonzalez. I see Adam S. I see Harrison. I see David. I see Steve. I see Jordan. I see Andrew. I see Mob. Get those me's in the chat. Let's go. Break the record right now. Let's get
faster. 30
we need to go faster.
To go.
Jordan
30
Lewis.
seconds left.
Victor Cruz. Garrett. Mario is here. Motor City. Roman Ham. Robert. Devin. Bert. Let's go, man. This chat is on fire. Keep it going, people. Break the record right now. Angel. We got Cass. We got Tarek. We got Oblivion. We got Daryl. We got Bradley. We got Flawless Edits. We got Mike. We got Major. We got Kilo. We got the Nerd Derg. Nice name. Steve M. Brock Queen. Bright Green. Zach Green. Joe Taylor. PM3. Let's go, man. I love it. Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
Don't slow down. Don't slow down. Let's check in on Steelers and Seahawks here on the Mees. On Seahawks, I got Apollo, Sup, Lisa, Beta YT, Tyler, Aiden, Christopher Bryson, Jose, Adam, Kayvon, Liam, Sup, Ryan, Liam, Keegan. Who's on Steelers?
I got Steelers Dad. I got Kyle King. I got Ed. I got Ali the Reaper. I've got Timmy G. I've got Budigo. That one's a new one. Steelers Gang 1. I got Todd. I've got Michael. I've got Tyler. I got Ken. I got Kevin. I got Michael. I've got Ed. I've got, let's see, Steelers Dad's in there. Gary Reynolds. What's up, Gary? Good to see you, my friend. That is who. All the Insers in the chat right now. My friend Tyler Jones.
All right. Folks, if you haven't already, you need to subscribe to Chat Sports for daily NFL news and rumors, interactive live shows every week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, as we scour the National Football League for the latest happenings on your favorite team and more. And we do our Red Zone channel each and every Sunday as well. Subscribe now, and you will be glad you did here on NFL Daily. Let's check in on some of the trades that have happened over the last 24 hours. Leonard Williams headed to Seattle for a 2024 second-round pick and a 2025 fifth-round pick. Sperry, real quick, who won that trade?
I'm going to say the Seahawks, actually. I mean, you never know with these draft picks, but I think the Seattle Seahawks needed pass rush. They ended up getting it here with Leonard Williams.
Then in Philadelphia, Kevin Byard is there at the safety position in exchange for a 2024 fifth-round pick, 2024 sixth-round pick, and Terrell Edmonds. Sperry, the Eagles, they needed some safety help, and they got it.
They got it. They got one of the best free safeties in football. And hell, if I was the Steelers GM right now, I would have traded a fifth, a sixth, and like Keanu Neal for Kevin Byard. I mean, goodness gracious, the Eagles absolutely got a steal with this trade. Howie Roseman's a genius. It just seems like he always pulls these kinds of deals off.
That wasn't the only deal the Eagles did. They traded away a sixth-round pick to Atlanta as Atlanta gets some much-needed help on the defensive line and also picks up a seventh-round pick. Sperry, I know there's question marks at that quarterback position, but Atlanta might be a sneaky good team there in the NFC South.
Yeah, they're a scrappy bunch. They can run the football. They've got some really good pieces in the secondary there in Atlanta. This is kind of a lower-level trade. Kentavious Street, probably more of a rotational piece, but watch out for the Falcons to potentially go get Chase Young before the deadline hits.
Then the biggest trade so far, Montez Sweat headed to Chicago in exchange for a 2024 second-round pick. The Bears get the edge rusher they were looking for, but it comes at a price. Not just the second-round pick, but they're going to have to pay him some big money too.
Yeah, they're going to have to pay him quite a big contract. This is a move for the future with Chicago. They know their team, probably not going to be a playoff team this year, but Montez Sweat, they're hoping, is going to be the cornerstone at the edge rusher position for them moving forward.
The Vikings, they get a quarterback, Joshua Dobbs from Arizona, with a conditional seventh-round pick. They give up a sixth-round pick. Jaron Hall going to be the starter for now, but Joshua Dobbs, if Hall can't get the job done, Dobbs not a bad second option for Minnesota.
Yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of Vikings fans out there that are going to think that they could have done better here, and they might have been able to, but Joshua Dobbs played pretty decently in Arizona this year, played in a very similar offense to what Kevin O'Connell likes to run in Minnesota. So if Jaron Hall ends up just being terrible this year and there's a significant possibility that is actually the case. Joshua Dobbs is going to be able to carry the torch here moving into the 2024 season.
And that wasn't the only trade the Vikings made. They acquired a 6th-round pick in exchange for Ezra Cleveland, who goes to the Jags. Ezra Cleveland, one of the highest-graded offensive guards in the NFL. Jags didn't have to give up much for a former 2nd-round pick. I really like this trade for the Jags. I don't know what the hell the Vikings were thinking here.
This is an A+ for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You get a top 10 offensive guard in football. This is the weak spot on the Jacksonville roster right now is their offensive line. And all you have to give up is a 6th-round pick. Are you freaking kidding me? This is an absolute highway robbery by the Jacksonville Jaguars over the Minnesota Vikings, in my opinion.
All right, Super Chat menu. I haven't seen any Super Chats come in on Seahawks yet. Have we got any on Steelers yet?
I have not got any on Steelers yet.
Who's going to send in the first Super Chat between our channels? Who gets there first, Seahawks or Steelers? The race is on. $ below the chat box if you want to contribute.
The loser has to eat one of these nasty Bean Boozled jelly beans. How about that?
Seahawks fans, send me $1. I don't care.
Send me $1 right now on Steelers.
Don't make me eat one of those jelly
Get
beans.
it in right now. I am not eating one of these jelly beans. The loser has to eat one of these jelly beans right now.
Any Super Chat equals a shout-out. $2, we'll talk about your team. $5, we will give a hot trade take. I'm sure Sperry's got some hot takes cooking up. $10, do a little beard cheers. $20, round of shots for everybody in the studio here. We'll see who sends in that first Super Chat, whether it's Steelers or Seahawks. I know we got some NFL Daily ones to get to as well.
Oh, I just got one from Gary Reynolds. Suck it, teacher. You're eating one. Let's go.
Seahawks fans, you let me down.
Everybody in the Steelers chat, type Gary, 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 Gary. Let's go, man. I love it, Gary. Here you go, Teach.
All right. A Seahawks Super Chat just came in.
Everyone spam Gary in the chat, Steelers Nation.
Beat it by about 30 seconds.
Gary, Gary, Gary. And by the way, we got a $2 Super Chat on Steelers from Steven Thompson. Thank you so much, Steven. You're the best.
I'll eat the jelly bean. Shout out to you, Gary. Drip.
I'm not going to tell a teacher what this flavor is, by the way.
Okay. Drip Leon with a 2 on Seahawks says Chase Young to Seattle. That one, you know, I would like to see Chase Young, but I would be very surprised if they made that move. But nonetheless, Drip, thanks for the $2 Super Chat. Even if it was 30 seconds late, I'll still eat the jelly bean.
Yeah, Seattle gave up, already gave up their 2nd round pick.
All right, here we go. Oh. Earl Wolf has a Super Chat.
Earl Wolf says, can I get a shout out from Spokane, Washington? What's up, Earl Wolf? Thank you so much for your $2 Super Chat.
As I eat this just nasty jelly bean. Smitty, do you know where, what university is in Spokane, Washington?
It's in Gonzaga.
Don't say it. Why'd you give it away, Coop? No, Sperry. It was a quiz for Sperry. I said Sperry.
But who doesn't know that Gonzaga's in Spokane?
I thought I said Sperry. Oh. Okay.
You said Smitty. You did say Smitty.
Okay. All right.
Let's just get through these right here. The Amazing World PC says the Amazing World PC. Well, thank you so much,
See,
my
I knew
friend.
Smitty knew that answer.
And by the way, we got a $5 Super Chat on Steelers from Todd Hastings. What's up, Todd? Really do appreciate the Super Chat. We got a $1 Super Chat from Judicial Roller Coaster. Thank you so much, my friend, JR. Thank you so much for that dollar.
Michael with a 5. Trade idea. Lions get Devontae Adams. Raiders get Jameson Williams, 23 first, 24 second. I'm living fantasy world, but I like this trade. Who says no?
The Raiders.
The Raiders say no.
The Raiders say no. They absolutely say no. Well, I mean, Devontae Adams, so they get Williams, a first rounder, a second. I don't think that they get that. I think the Raiders say no to that.
Raiders aren't trading Devontae Adams.
They're not trading him. They're just not. Smitty says he's taking that trade. But we got Lou Gotti.
John Lunch will get aggressive again. Are we calling him Lunch now?
Says, do you think John Lunch will get aggressive?
I do. I do think the Niners are going to make a big move before the end of the day.
I think they're trying to get Jalen Johnson right now. They've had some defensive struggles the last couple of games, 3 straight losses there in the Bay. I could definitely see John Lynch getting aggressive here at the trade deadline.
And then Todd
Hastings, this one's from Steelers. Let's go, man. He says video game. He sent in a sticker here, a character. So thank you so much, Todd, for that $5 super chat.
There was 2 more on Seahawks that came in from a drip that we'll pull up real quick. Seattle to the bowl, in reference, of course, to the Super Bowl. Man, that would be something. They're in first place in the division, only a game back. Sperry, that Eagles team is going to be tough to get through.
Yeah, the Eagles, I think, are the best team in football right now. They're just so multiple. They can dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides. The tush push is the most unstoppable play in football right now. If they get 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, you know what they're doing, and you can't stop it. I mean, for real, the Eagles are the best teams in the league right now, in my opinion.
Okay, and then he followed that up and said, "Can we get a Seahawks rant going?" I feel pretty happy about this team. I don't know there's much to rant about. Smitty, I think we need to get the Seahawks chant going. Things are positive right now. See! See!
Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.
There we go. Thank you, Drip Leon.
Tom Smith with a $2 super chat on Steelers. Thank you so much, Tom, for your $2. Really do appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much. And by the way, Teach, you want to do a friendly wager here between Seahawks and Steelers?
Yeah, let's do it.
Whichever stream gets less in super chats today, the other host gets to slap the losing host with a tortilla.
Oh, you love those tortillas. Yeah, he is obsessed with them. He's getting sexual with those tortillas.
Is it a deal?
Yeah, I guess.
All right, it's a deal. Whoever gets the most in super chats today.
What's the number Steelers is at right now?
So we are at $11 on Steelers.
We're at 17 on Seahawks.
Okay, so a $10 super chat on Steelers right now puts us in the league. Let's get going,
All
man.
right, here we go. Shout out your favorite NFL team. We'll shout you out in the comments section. I'm seeing a lot of Niners on Maine right now. Shout them out. We'll shout you out. Sperry, Niners got changed. Whoa, really?
Wait, there's a trade?
Wait. Before I say that out loud.
Do we have a trade?
Yes, we do.
We have a trade.
We have a trade. Ian Rappaport, former number 2 overall pick.
Oh,
Chase
there
Young
it
is headed to the San Francisco 49ers.
There it is. That we just said John Lynch is going to get.
Likely a mid-round pick.
It's saying 3rd rounder here. Ian Rappaport says a 3rd-round pick in exchange for Chase Young. Wow. Bombshell move here from the 49ers.
Oh, my gosh.
You're pairing up Chase Young with Nick Bosa.
And just a mid-round pick, that's a huge win for San Fran.
I can't believe the Commanders let him go for a 3rd-round pick.
This guy's a generational talent. He was already off to a great start to this year. I know he's had the injury issues, but as I say all the time, you can never have too many pass rushers. We know the Niners have a good defense. You go from good to great. Chase Young.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my gosh. This is a huge win for San Francisco.
Yeah, this is a big loss for the Washington Commanders, man. Chase Young, top 5 in pressures so far in the entire National Football League. He's been balling out here this season. And it seems like they're embracing full-blown rebuild mode right there in the nation's capital. Chase Young is pairing up with Nick Bosa. Oh, my goodness, man. That's going to be such a dominating edge combo. What's up, Sam?
I was going to say, we
turn your mic on, Sam.
We already know they're a dominating edge duo. They played in college together for 3 years.
Oh,
true.
Yes.
They did. Ohio State boys reunited there in the Bay. They still need help in the secondary. Could the 49ers still make a trade for Jalen Johnson today? I mean, I don't think the 49ers are done today.
So between Bosa and Chase Young together and all those other guys, I mean, how do you defend that? How do you block that?
I don't know, man. You still got Javon Hargrave on the inside there in San Francisco, too. I mean, this is one of the most ravenous pass rushes in the National Football League right now. It already really was with Nick Bosa and Hargrave, but it just went to a whole nother level with Chase Young on the other side.
With just over an hour away to the trade deadline, this was a situation. Did the Commanders just settle? I guess this is the best they could do?
I guess. If I was the Commanders, if you have a young player like Chase Young, who is top 5 in pressures right now, I wouldn't trade him for a 3rd-round pick. I would say you have to meet our price or we're keeping him. I mean, I think that this is a complete cop-out move by the Washington Commanders, trading him for a conditional third-round pick. This is an awful move by the Washington Commanders. This should have been at least a second-round pick, especially because the Niners pick is going to be later in the order. They're going to be one of the top teams in the National Football League. Let me know who won the trade down there in the comment section.
Washington or San Francisco, type WAS for Washington, SF for San Francisco. I don't know how the Niners didn't win this trade.
San Francisco absolutely ran away with this trade right now. I mean, as the Commanders host, I'm going to have to do a video on this later. I'm going to destroy this Commanders front office for making this trade. This is a travesty. Oh, my gosh.
This has been a bad day to be a Commanders fan.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
In case you're just joining us, we are live here on NFL Daily. Seahawks today, Pittsburgh Steelers talk. The San Francisco 49ers have traded away a conditional third-round pick for edge rusher Chase Young, the former number 2 overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, having the best season of his career. I know there were some injury concerns going into this year, but he has played out of his mind so far this year. San Francisco, they've lost 3 in a row. Does this type of move to bring in Chase Young, is this what the Niners needed to kind of turn the corner, get back on track?
Yeah, I think so. I think Chase Young is the type of player where you put him on the other side of Nick Bosa, you're not able to double team anybody on this defensive line right now. That's absolutely ridiculous right now what the 49ers are building there. If they can get Jalen Johnson, I mean, goodness gracious, this San Francisco 49ers team, it's right up there with the Philadelphia Eagles for the best team in the National Football League.
All right, let's tell you about today's sponsor. We are presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Here's how Prize Picks works, folks. You pick 2 or more players, and you get a choice, more or less, with any given prop that's associated with them, whether you're talking passing yards, passing completions, receiving yards, receiving catches, whatever it may be. A lot of possibilities with Prize Picks. And if you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, we are giving a $100 deposit match when you use the promo code CLNS. Here's what I'm playing this week on Prize Picks, folks. I got Dak to have less than his given total. I got Josh Allen to have less than his given total. I know those guys got big arms and everything, but I think that they come back down to earth a little bit, personally speaking. Play along with me at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS at checkout for a $100 deposit match. Prize Picks, the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Some more super chats rolling in. Let's start off with the judicial roller coaster. Adams to KC or Baltimore, at least fire Josh McDaniels. It was only a matter of time before we got one of those in there. No way in hell are the Raiders trading Davante Adams, and definitely not going to let him be a Chief.
Yeah, they're not going to let him be a Chief. No way that ends up happening. There's no way. I don't think Davante Adams gets traded today. The Raiders have already said a number of times, we're not trading the guy. So I don't know why people are like, let's trade for Davante Adams. It's not happening, people. Let's stop with this madness. Davante Adams, I know he's upset and frustrated there in Las Vegas, but he's going to be a Raider for the rest of the season.
So John wants me to get rid of this red Under Armour pullover for a white sweater. I don't understand that one.
Oh, I think he says that he likes your fit over me.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks.
We should trade.
Trade? I don't think so. I'll stick with what I got. But John Edwards,
I'm cool with what I got. Thanks. I appreciate the offer, John Edwards.
Vice presidential candidate, we appreciate it. Zane Poles.
Lane
Poles. Thank you. I've seen reports Steelers got Jalen J. That would be fake news.
Yeah, that'd be fake news right now. The Steelers have not traded for Jalen Johnson. They are interested in trading for him, but no deal has officially been made yet. So we got one from Michael here. He says, find the next 10 firsts for Adams to the Lions. The next 10 first-round picks, maybe that'll end up happening. But here's the thing. It's not going to happen. Sorry, Mike. It's not going to happen.
JKPA says, Aaron Donald to the Miami Dolphins, top 7 defenses. I know there was a lot of Aaron Donald trade rumors going into 2023, but the Rams are just good enough that they're not selling at the moment. And the other thing, too, any team and this isn't going to change, even heading in the offseason. Any team that could be interested in a trade for Aaron Donald, he's talked about retirement the last 2 or 3 years. There's no guarantee that even if you trade for him, he's going to put on your uniform.
Yeah, he still has another year left on his contract. And, I think there are some teams in the National Football League that would love to trade for Aaron Donald, right? Right now, the Rams are sitting at 3-5 right now. I don't think that anybody really is kidding ourselves with the Los Angeles Rams. You like Matthew Stafford. He's still playing well. You got a really nice wide receiver duo in Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. But let's face it, the rest of that defensive roster, it's young, it's inexperienced, it's overall untalented. And then the offensive line, overall not great either. So I love Sean McVay. So there's definitely an argument to be made, Teej, to trade Aaron Donald, especially for getting like a first-round pick or maybe a first-rounder and change. But is anyone offering that right now with him threatening to retire over the last couple of years? I don't see it happening.
In the words of Jack Sperry, no way.
I think there's a way. Teej. But it's definitely unlikely. We got one from Black Mamba 24. He says, any news on the Carolina Panthers need wide receiver? Well, here's the thing, Black Mamba. I'm guessing you're a Panthers fan. I don't think they're going to be buying a wide receiver. Maybe Jerry Jeudy. Maybe. But overall, I don't really see the Panthers making any big moves in terms of the buying market. If they might be selling some players, Jeremy Chin could be gone, Brian Burns. Those types of players could be out by the end of the trade deadline today. But if you're hoping to add a player today, maybe a Jerry Jeudy, a wide receiver, or something like that. But I won't get my hopes up too high.
All right, we got shots all around, courtesy of Seahawks Today viewer Everyday J with a $20 super chat. Bang! Niners.
Steelers, we got to catch up. Let's go.
Seahawks is at $44 now, by the way. Niners still going to stumble over each other. Let's talk about that with what he's saying here. The Niners haven't looked good the last 3 weeks. Brock Purdy's not playing so great. Are the Niners going to get out of this funk of sorts, or is this who they are?
I think that they're going to get out of it. I really do believe that. I still consider them for sure a top 4 team in the National Football League, especially with Chase Young on the roster now alongside Nick Bosa. I think that Brock Purdy is definitely – we're looking at what Kyle Shanahan does for quarterbacks. Just look at Jimmy Garoppolo with the Las Vegas Raiders, what he looks like outside of the system. I think Brock Purdy is the best quarterback that has run this system in San Francisco. So I'm still a believer. Once you get Debo back and you get healthy on the offensive side of the ball, let's look at the teams that they lost to, right? They lost to the Bengals last week. We know how good they can be. Joe Burrow looks like he's fully healthy again. Then you got the Browns, right? They have an elite defense, great defense, so I don't really hold that against them as much. And then the Minnesota Vikings without Debo, maybe a lesser opponent in Minnesota that you let one kind of steal one. But overall, Minnesota's 4-4. They're not a terrible football team. Brian Flores does have that defense rolling. So I'm not too worried about San Francisco right now. They're definitely addressing this right now with Chase Young on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're going to be Super Bowl contenders.
Smitty, Sam, for that 20, we got to do shots on the house when you guys get a second.
Shots on the house.
We'll get that coming up in a bit. Let's see. What else we got here? Super chat from Jacob. Seattle hasn't lost to the Eagles since 2008. And they play in a few weeks.
Yes, they do. That'll be an interesting matchup. I'll still go with Philly to win that one. Sorry, Jacob. Sorry, Teej. Sorry, Smitty. But the Eagles are a tough team to beat right now, for sure.
All right. Let's shout out your favorite NFL team. Here's what we'll do. Sperry, I will close my eyes, and when I open them, the first team I see, that is the team I'll talk about.
Okay, sounds good.
So count me down, Sperry.
3, 2, 1, look.
The Dolphins.
The Dolphins.
Let's talk about that Dolphins team.
I don't see the Dolphins.
Maybe the best offense in football.
Yeah, electric offense.
They are very explosive. They know how to score
Jalen
points.
Ramsey coming back. He's already back, but how do you feel about the Jalen Ramsey situation?
At this point, as good as they're playing, he feels like just a additional asset of sorts, like adding to what's already there.
Sure. The defense has definitely been worse than their offense, so getting that help on the defensive side of the ball, especially a guy like Jalen Ramsey who could just straight up shut down some people, I think will definitely help the Dolphins.
And the Dolphins have been kind of the Walmart brand Rams in the F them picks mentality. that we've seen over the last couple of years. We got over an hour to go to the trade deadline. I mean, I don't know exactly where the Dolphins, a specific player that feels like this is the guy they have to make a trade for, but just based on the way they operate, I could very well see them making a deal before the deadline.
Yeah, just the way they operate, like you said, they're very aggressive. They go and get players. They know the players that they want to go get, and they go get them. We saw with the Rams, they got a Super Bowl out of that strategy, but right now they're in kind of a hole right now where you only have a couple of really good players on your roster, and then the rest of the team is kind of young and inexperienced. So that could be the Miami Dolphins in a couple of years if they're not careful. But right now, I really like what Mike McDaniel's doing with the offense there. It's so innovative, so creative. When you got the kind of speed that they have, when you have a quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa that's as accurate as he is and so good from within the pocket like he is, this team's going to be dangerous. This team can win a Super Bowl. It's just going to be a matter of how Tua plays in the playoffs, in my opinion.
All right, one more time. I'll close my eyes again, and here we go.
3, 2, 1, look.
The Lions.
Chase Young's off the board now, so there's not many I guess there's quite a few edge rushers that they could still go get, but I think Chase Young probably was their number one guy that they probably wanted to go get. Now he's off the board, Tej.
Yeah, Chase Young was the guy they're looking for, but to their credit of sorts, there is still plenty of edge rushers out there. Maybe not Chase Young caliber, but there are still some guys they could potentially go get and add to that team. I look at the Lions. I really like that Lions team.
Brian Burns? Interesting.
Maybe.
I mean, you have to give up it costs a pretty penny, I think, but could it happen? I could see Brian Burns in Detroit.
Yeah, that could make sense.
I mean, I don't know how the financials work out with that situation.
Well,
but
the Lions actually have a ton of cap space.
Yeah, so I think that's something that could actually work. Brian Burns to Detroit, put him on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson. That defense is so much better this year than it was last year. Ben Johnson's got that offense rolling. I consider Detroit as kind of a lower-end Super Bowl kind of sleeper pick right now. Right. Maybe 7th, 6th team, best team in the league, somewhere in that range. I really like what Dan Campbell's doing. Dan Campbell is proving right now, Tej, that the main function of an NFL head coach is to be a culture builder, to get people to buy into what you're selling. That's what Mike Tomlin does so well in Pittsburgh. That's what Dan Campbell is doing so well in Detroit.
Yeah, certainly. Sperry, you got to go, but appreciate your time here today, man. You got some updates coming up on the trade we're about to talk about here in just a second over on Commander's Report.
Yep, I got
about that Trace Young and Montez Sweat deal. Busy day in Washington.
Yep, got to go to work, folks. Really do appreciate everybody that tuned in here. All right, I'll stick around, though. I will be back, right? All right, Steelers fans, make sure you stick around. I will be back. I got to get this Commanders piece done real quick, but I'll be right back with my friend Teach here to finish out the show.
So look forward to that. He'll be back coming up in just a few moments. In case you're just joining us here on our live coverage of NFL Trade Deadline Day here on NFL Daily, Seahawks Today and Pittsburgh Steelers Talk, a massive trade just a little while ago. The 49ers received Chase Young. The Commanders receive a 2024 compensatory third-round pick. The second trade of the day for the Washington Commanders. Already moved on from Montez Sweat. Now they move on from Chase Young as well. Their two young pass rushers are gone. This Niners team on a 3-game slide as of late, a team that has high expectations for 2023, believes they're a Super Bowl contender, trying to find something. We've seen John Lynch be aggressive, historically speaking, with some of the moves that he makes. In another one right here. Former number 2 overall pick, might I add you. Granted, he's had some injuries as of late, but he's looked really good. A huge win for the San Francisco 49ers and puts the rest of the league on notice that San Francisco is not going away. The Commanders officially start their rebuild today. And if we're going to be honest, based on the way the Commanders have played the last few years, I mean, the rebuild never started to begin with a couple of years ago. Who is the next player to be traded? Chime in that chat, and we'll shout you out and get your thoughts of who you guys believe that a next player to be traded is. Let us know, and we'll shout you out here in the chat. I see Gavin says Darnell Mooney. I see Demon Ford says Jalen Johnson. Jack says Miles Sanders. CJ says Patrick Surtain. I've already seen a Kai Soto in there, too. Timothy says Derrick Henry. Steve says Justin Simmons. I see Robert says Kenny Moore. David says Danielle Hunter. I also have Junior saying Hunter Renfrow. I got Sandtown saying Courtland Sutton. I got Cass saying Danielle Hunter. I saw Justin Fields in there. That's not happening. Josh Allen also not happening as well. For more NFL coverage each and every day here on NFL Daily by Chat Sports, subscribe now for free for the latest happenings across the National Football League. We're live each and every Tuesday and Thursday here on the channel. Also, our Red Zone channel on Sunday afternoons as well. If you love the National Football League, this is the channel for you. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/chatsportstv for NFL coverage all season long right here on NFL Daily. We are coming up on the top of the hour, about 3 minutes away, as we're down to the final hour of the trade deadline. Last chance for teams to make a move. And we'll catch up to speed later on in all the trades that have happened so far to this point. But before we do that, though, if you're excited for that trade deadline to hit in an hour from right now, type me in the comments section. If you're ready to go, we'll shout everybody out that's spamming me in the chat if you're ready for the trade deadline. Let's see if we can beat our chat rate record from earlier. I believe it was over 600. What can we do this time? Spam me and I'll shout you out. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. I got Tony, George, Ice, Kevin, Jacob, Justin, Alex, George, Roman, Junior, Isaac, Bebo, Roman, Gavin, Mr. Unknown, Obi, Lucas, Yes We Can Outdoors, Dylan, Brandon, Bryson, King, NFL Reality Check, Broncos Country, David, Jack, Logan, Robert, Justin. Let's check on Seahawks here. Who's got the me's going? I got Jerry, Donald, Seahawk, Ty Taylor, Seahawks 33, Miguel, Space, Seahawk 12, Donald, Miguel, Seahawk, Ty Taylor, and more. We broke it. We broke it, everybody. Broke the chat rate record. Let's go. Let's go. Now let's check up on some Super Chats. We begin with David. Any updates on the Denver Broncos or any interest for Jerry Jeudy? David, thanks for that $5 Super Chat. No updates yet. We'll continue to monitor that. If we get more updates, if a trade goes down, you'll be the first to know about it here on NFL Daily. Angel writes in, Buckner to the Seahawks. That would be fascinating if we sold DeForest Buckner, go to Seattle, provide some help on that defensive line. I would be intrigued potentially, but I think that's unlikely with the Leonard Williams move that went down. CJ writes in, Pat Surtain to the Steelers is the move. You know, a couple days ago, that could have made a lot of sense. But now that the Broncos beat the Chiefs, vibes are a lot different in Denver. It's going to cost a lot to get rid of Pat Surtain. Landon with a $5 Super Chat. Gallup is officially cooked, and our NFL draft class has been worst in the NFL while the Eagles look like the best. It's not easy being a Cowboys fan for the Cowboy fans out there. Gallup doesn't look right. That's for certain. They need help. And unfortunately, it doesn't sound like your GM's going to do much to help you out there, and Jerry Jones there. They're going to roll with what they got more than likely. TJ Porter writes, Aaron Donald to the Cowboys. That'd be a ridiculous deal line. It would be. But as I was telling Sperry earlier, with the injury, with the retirement rumors around Aaron Donald, it seems unlikely that Donald would be looking to go anywhere other than playing with the Rams. That makes it kind of harder to trade. Tyler writes in, great name. Jags are underrated. We're winning it all. I really like the Jags trade of Ezra Cleveland. That made a lot of sense for Jacksonville to go with Ezra Cleveland, one of the top 10 offensive guards in the league, gave up a 6th-round pick. Jags are a force to be reckoned with. Big Bo writes with a $2 Super Chat. What's the Chase Young trade to the Niners due to their cap? I haven't seen the official cap number, but they wouldn't be able to make the trade if they didn't have the cap space to do it. But we'll check back on that later. Thanks, Big Bo. CJ writes, can we talk about Surtain to the Steelers, please? We've talked about that a lot today. That hasn't happened. That will not happen. Sorry to bust your boat there, CJ, but, I mean, I would be shocked if Pat Surtain ends up in Pittsburgh. King writes in, Justin Fields to the 49ers. What do you think? I think the Niners are confident in Brock Purdy. I know Brock hasn't played his best as of late, but that would be a surprising one if Justin Fields ended up in San Francisco and Chicago with what they did to bring in Montez Sweat. They're not selling right now. King, thanks for the super chat there. King, yes, appreciate that on that front. Did we get lowriders from Seahawks? Okay, we got a trade. Trade alert. Donovan Peoples-Jones is headed to the Detroit Lions from the Cleveland Browns. Trade alert coming in just moments ago. The Cleveland Browns receiver headed to Detroit. And Detroit already a fantastic football team, one of the best in the NFC. And they are going to get better. Another weapon for Jared Goff and that Detroit Lions offense. We'll wait and see trade details. Sam, go ahead. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. Was it Arkansas? Or was it Coop?
The Michigan Wolverines.
Michigan. Back in the state of Michigan.
He's back home.
Donovan Peoples-Jones makes his return. They get him out of the nasty state of Ohio to the state of Michigan to join the Detroit Lions. And I got to tell you, we'll see what the trade details are. But credit to Dan Campbell and this Detroit Lions team for being aggressive, for going all after it. This one, I like this for Detroit potentially. We'll see what the trade looks like. But that one, Detroit Lions clearly going all in. Lowrider Chev 64 with a $20 super chat. Bang! That puts Seahawks at $64. I don't know what Steelers is at, but I would imagine they're pretty behind in this battle between us and Steelers right now. That's shots all around. We owe a couple different shots. We will take plenty of shots. Don't worry about it. I got my guys Sam Brown here. I got Jeffrey Cooperstein here. We owe a couple shots. Fireball is here. It is cold.
Bottle Girl Sammy.
Bottle Girl Sammy. There we go. Sam showing them off.
Let's go.
Let's go. Shots all around.
Less than an hour away.
How we feeling, Coop?
We feel great. How about yourself?
I feel great. I'm going to feel great after these shots especially. Down to the final hour. If you're watching at home, well, obviously you're watching at home. Get a shot glass out and drink with us to send some good luck to your team as we enter the 11th hour.
Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Let's go.
The first of two. Cheers.
Woo!
Oh, that's real Fireball. That is strong. You weren't messing around today, fellas. No. We're getting hammered.
F it.
Why not? Why not us? Spam shot in the chat. We're taking real Fireball shots. These are cold as ice. I am feeling it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Woo! Oh. Oh, mama. Let's go. That is how we begin
Oh, mama.
the final hour of the trade deadline. Hopefully you all had some shots at home, and good luck to your team as we enter the final hour, the witching hour of the trade deadline. Donovan Peoples-Jones is headed to Detroit. Full details, we are waiting to see what they are. And another 20 coming in. Everyday Jay says, take another one while you're at it. We will momentarily. We will momentarily, Everyday Jay. We got to pace ourselves here. We got to get through the hour. Folks, bosses said we had to go sub-only chat. Don't blame me. Blame the bosses. Until we reach 348,000 subscribers on our main Chat Sports feed. So if you are not subscribed to the channel, you can get back in the chat when you subscribe. So don't hate me. It's just how it is. We got to play by the rules. It is what it is, as they say. More Super Chats to get to. Zach, the Steelers fan. What trade do the Steelers need or should make? Let me bring Coop in, the executive producer of Pittsburgh Steelers Talk, in place of
Mr. Sperry.
Mr. Sperry, who is going to be back here in a few minutes. Coop, put yourself on screen if you can, too. Let's get your thoughts on this, as I need to take a drink of water anyway.
I'll put myself on screen here momentarily, but I really think the Steelers need one of two things. They really need an improvement in offensive tackle, because just right now they have Dan Moore Jr., who's one of the worst guys in the league. Now, they do have Broderick Jones, who they traded up for in the draft, but It's clear that they don't trust him yet. So they need that, and they also need help at linebacker, I believe, as well. So that'll be interesting to see if the
we got more
Steelers
shots,
go get a linebacker.
Sam is going to be back here in just a second for more shots, I promise.
Sam will be back.
Rob writes in, New York Giants cleaning house or clear cap space for another move? I don't think they're cleaning house because they'd be getting rid of Saquon.
Yeah, if they were cleaning house, they'd be getting rid of Saquon. It sounds like they're not going to trade Saquon right now.
I think they saw an opportunity that they couldn't pass up on that Leonard Williams situation where they're like, hey, we'll take the second and the fifth. Like, we're not going to get this if we don't. We're not going to bring him back anyway. We need to capitalize on that opportunity.
No doubt.
Thanks for that, Rob. King Prodigy writes in, do you think my Texans should trade for Jerry Jeudy? You know, the Texans are an interesting team because, Coop, they're not bad. They're improved from what they were last year, but they're not contending just yet.
Yeah, they're kind of
If I'm the Texans, I'm saving my draft capital to still put yourself in position for your future to really invest in the long game.
For sure. There's no need to mortgage the future for a Jerry Jeudy, especially the way Nico Collins has played this year for the Texans. You don't really need to give up that premium draft pick for a receiver.
Alex writes in, who will be the next New York Giant traded? Ooh, that's a good question.
It's not going to be Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah. You know, I think that the Giants are done, to be honest. I think the Giants kind of are what they are at this point in time. Alex, thanks for that super chat. Jack with another. Longtime Ravens fan. Any chance they make a trade for Uche or a running back or the possibility of another corner? Sounds like the Ravens were really shopping their options at the corner or at the running back position, but that John Harbaugh says he's confident in his team. So I'll believe it when I see it. But the most likely of the scenarios you painted there, Jack, I would say would be shopping for a potential running back. Although Gus Edwards looked good last week, had over 80 yards and 3 touchdowns. Today is Halloween, one of my favorite holidays. By the way, for all the religious nuts out there that are anti-Halloween, like, you guys are full of yourselves. Everybody should celebrate Halloween. Halloween is not about Satan or anything like that. Halloween's a great holiday. What is the best Halloween candy? I want to hear. What is the best Halloween candy?
Candy corn.
Did you really just say that, Coop?
I'm kidding.
I don't hate candy corn.
It's
but
not
I'm
the best.
putting it as the best.
My favorite's probably Reese's. I'm a huge
good
Reese's
choice.
guy.
I'm going to go Twix.
You're going to go Twix? Sam Brown?
I'm a classic white guy, Skittles.
Skittles. Nothing wrong with Skittles.
Here's the thing. Hear me out on this one.
I'll hear you out.
Butterfingers is my favorite candy, but I rarely see it like in a Halloween display. You don't have the mini bars on the Butterfingers. Like, to be Halloween candy, you got to come like small, like fun-sized of sorts. You don't see that with the Butterfinger. So I'll go Twix as the best Halloween candy. What do you guys say in the chat? I got Broncos Country says Milk Duds. I got Shelly says M&M's. Texas Roughneck checking in. I got Pat saying Reese's. TZ71 says Twix. Broncos Country says Milk Duds. Robert says Mounds. I got Liam says Butterfingers. Mr. Bab says Twix. Seahawks 12 says Butterfingers are trash. What the hell? Why is Butterfingers taking strays here? If you don't like Butterfingers, then you eat corn the long way.
Butterfingers are good, man.
Joseph says Snickers. Draken says candy pumpkins. I can't remember the last time I had a candy pumpkin. Darwin says Halloween is the devil's holiday. I mean, really? No. Halloween has nothing to do with Satan. I can tell you that right now. All right, now we get trade details. on the Donovan Peoples-Jones trade. The Browns received a 2025 sixth-round pick in exchange for Donovan Peoples-Jones with that trade there. I got to say, ton of value there for the Lions to give up a sixth-round pick next year. That's not asking too much for a player of Donovan Peoples-Jones' caliber. I like this move for the Detroit Lions. I don't know what the Browns are thinking, if they phased him out of their offense, if they've given up on him, but Donovan Peoples-Jones is a good football player. Coop, I mean, 2025 sixth-round pick, that's a steal for the Lions here.
Yeah, the Lions get a much-needed weapon that they need for the former wide receiver out of Michigan. DPJ never quite worked out there in Cleveland, and he heads to Detroit to make a run here at the postseason.
Yeah, and then the other big trade that happened within this last hour, Chase Young headed to San Francisco for a 2024 compensatory third-round pick. Chase Young, we already know the Niners had a great defense. You add Chase Young to the fold here, a Niners team that's lost 3 in a row. Coop, we knew that John Lynch was not going to end this day quietly.
No, there are two GMs who are ultra aggressive, and they're the two GMs of the two best teams in the league, and that's John Lynch in San Francisco, and that's Mr. Howie Roseman over in Philly. So they both make aggressive moves, and that's why their teams are at the top of the totem pole right now.
The biggest head-scratcher trade of the day. The Jags get Ezra Cleveland. They give up a sixth-round pick. Good for the Jags to get Ezra Cleveland, one of the top 10 guards in football. But why on earth the Vikings move on from Ezra Cleveland? This one just doesn't make sense to me. Huge win for the Jags. I don't know what the Vikes are thinking.
Yeah, it makes no sense, especially because the Vikings also traded for a quarterback. So
they're not tanking.
You'd think you'd want to give him some protection. Obviously, the Vikings needed a QB after Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles and is out for the season. But yeah, the Cleveland deal doesn't really make much sense to me.
Yeah, and Joshua Dobbs going to Minnesota with the injury to Kirk Cousins. This Minnesota Vikings team, I know people are wondering, how good are they? Can they contend? This shows the Vikings are saying, hey, we're not giving up on the season just yet, that we're going to ride with Joshua Dobbs. Dobbs, of the quarterbacks out there, not a bad choice necessarily. The biggest trade of the entire trade deadline to this point, Montez Sweat leaving the Commanders, headed to the Bears for a 2024 second-round pick. Montez Sweat has been incredible, off to the best start of his career so far. The Bears looking for a pass rusher, and they got a guy that they'll be calling on for a long time in Montez Sweat. And Coop, with adding Montez Sweat here, you are in a situation where, yes, you gave up the second-round pick, but now you got to pay him as well. This is a huge investment, more than people may realize.
Yeah, it's a big investment, and it's weird because they're also trying to trade away Jalen Johnson, who is one of their best young players. So I'm not really sure what the Bears are doing. This is obviously a move for the future. You're going to have to pay Montez Sweat probably 4 years, $100 million at least as a starting point. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there.
It will be interesting to see. And then we had the Eagles and the Falcons making a trade. The Falcons get some help on the defensive line. They also pick up a 2025 seventh-round pick, giving up a sixth-round pick. Coop, I know you love those Falcons.
Yes.
This is a team that is leading that division. I think that they're ahead of schedule on their rebuild of sorts. Questions at the quarterback position, but the rest of the team coming together pretty nicely.
Yeah, they have a really good roster. They had to make this move because, unfortunately, one of their leaders and one of their dogs, Grady Jarrett, tore his ACL and is going to be out for the year. So they went and got Kentavious Street. He's not going to replace Grady Jarrett. Grady Jarrett's a huge loss and is a Pro Bowl caliber player. So this is just a body replacement here.
Yeah. All right, another trade for the Eagles. Kevin Byard is headed to Philly. They give up a 2024 fifth-round pick, a 2024 sixth-round pick, and Terrell Edmonds. The Eagles needed safety help. I know that they might have the best roster in football from 1 to 53, but the biggest weakness of sorts was that safety spot. You add Kevin Byard to the mix. Coop, I applaud Howie Roseman because that team, the one thing they needed to address, they took care of.
It's what he does, man. Howie Roseman always knows what his team needs, and he goes and gets it. He doesn't care what draft picks he has to use or what players he has to send the other way. Howie Roseman takes care of his Eagles.
Big day for the Eagles indeed with that trade they made yesterday. The Seattle Seahawks My Seahawks Today audience watching right now is Leonard Williams, headed to Seattle after yesterday's trade, giving up a 2024 second-round pick, a 2025 fifth-round pick, and the Giants take on most of the contract for Leonard Williams that was remaining for this year. The Seahawks, they needed help on the defensive line. They needed a pass rusher. They get it in Leonard Williams. It comes at a price, especially when you see, Coop, I mean, hindsight's 2020. The Bears only gave up a second-round pick for Montez Sweat. The Niners only gave up a third-round pick for Chase Young here. I know the Seahawks got the player they wanted in Leonard Williams. That's a difference maker. But did they overspend based on the way the rest of the market went?
I never know what to think of NFL trade values. I still think that Leonard Williams is a really good player, and he's going to do a lot of great things for the Seattle Seahawks. In the grand scheme of things, did they probably give up a little too much? Yes, but they ensured that they got their guy that they wanted, and they got him before the deadline day.
Right. And, yeah, the Seahawks, now you get a guy that can play in, that can play tackle, play a little bit of both, get some creativity potentially on that Seahawks defense. Who is the biggest NFL trade deadline winner so far? We're under 45 minutes away from that deadline hitting. Get in that comment section and shout out who you believe the biggest winner is to this point. I got to tell you, the Jags had the biggest steal with the Ezra Cleveland deal.
Yeah, the Jags are up there. I think the Seattle Seahawks are up there. I really like what the 49ers have done
I
as
like
well.
the Eagles with what they did with Kevin Byard.
Let us know who you guys think in the comment section. Teaser, get some shout-outs there.
My two answers would be Jags and Eagles so far to this point, with not giving up a ton and getting a lot better, taking significant steps. Who are the biggest winners? Robert says the Niners. Greg says the Niners. Anthony says the Lions. Junior says the Niners. Ram TK says the Niners. AJ says KC. KC hasn't made a move. I don't know how the winners. Alex says the Niners. Jack says the Cardinals. Danny says the Jags. Rico says the Jags. Vivi Gal says the Ravens. I got Brand Knapp says the Eagles. Chris Fowler in the chat. Chris Fowler, he's got a big game to call this weekend. He's saying the Niners. Roy says Duvall. Rico says the Jags. Ethan says the Jags. Crypto Dread says Duvall. Sam says the Rams. I got Robert that says the Niners. Rico says the Jags. Check it on the Seahawks chat here. L says the Niners. Java says the Niners. Nahad says the Seahawks. Chaz says the Niners. Seahawks 12 says the Niners as well. The Niners obviously a good answer too with that Chase Young trade giving up a third-round pick. All right, we are at 969 likes. Nice. Less than 40 away from reaching 1,000. We got 4,000 people watching right now. How have you not liked the video by now? Like the video. We're down to the final 40 minutes. If you want your team to pull off a move, to win at the trade deadline, like the video.
My boss has told me when we get to 1,000 or when we get to 1,100 likes, you have to chug the rest of your Happy Dad.
1,100, and I'm chugging the Happy Dad.
Chugging the rest.
We're there. That didn't take
We're
long.
there.
Just like that.
That was you know what? That shows us that you guys are real ones.
All right. I will chug the rest of this Happy Dad. And here we go. To all the NFL fans out there, happy Halloween. Happy NFL trade deadline day. Chug.
There it is.
Woo!
Let's go. All right.
Let's go. Got a little on the face. We're good to go.
Tyler, with about 40 minutes remaining until the trade deadline, let's take a look at some of the top candidates.
Here we go. Let's start with the quarterback trade candidates. We begin in Washington with Jacoby Brissett. Carolina with Andy Dalton. Joshua Dobbs is off the board. He is headed to Minnesota. Meanwhile, Case Keenum still available. Trey Lance available in Dallas. They haven't really found a role for him just yet. Tennessee with Ryan Tannehill. At the running back spot, you got Saquon Barkley with the New York Giants, although we've heard the Giants may not be trading him. The Jets with Dalvin Cook. Titans with Derrick Henry. Patriots with Ezekiel Elliott. Jags with Dearness Johnson. Colts with Zach Moss. Eagles with Rashad Penny. Panthers with Miles Sanders. The wide receivers include Devontae Adams, although it seems highly unlikely the Raiders make a deal. The Cardinals with Marquise Brown. Giants with Paris Campbell, Titans with DeAndre Hopkins, Broncos with Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, although the Broncos have a lot more optimism after the win against the Chiefs over the weekend. The Patriots with Juju Smith-Schuster. Then the tight ends. A couple more Patriots, Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki. Zach Ertz with the Cardinals. Kyle Pitts with the Falcons, which blows my mind that he's available for a first-round pick just a couple of years ago. Darren Waller with the New York Giants, also on the list as well. Offensive linemen include Brian Allen, center for the Rams. Trent Brown, offensive tackle for the Patriots. Garrett Bowles, offensive tackle for the Broncos. Ezra Cleveland off the board. He is headed to Jacksonville. Big Mike O, headed from New England. And then Cody Whitehair, offensive guard from the Chicago Bears. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Head to prizepicks.com/CLNS and you can get a $100 deposit match when you play along with us. Here's how it works. You pick 2 or more players and get the choice, more or less, on any given prop. Here's what I'm rolling with this week. I got Dak and Josh Allen to have less than their given total. I don't think Dak is going to be throwing for 300 yards. That's not happening. Josh Allen, 270? Nah. Play along with me. I won big on Prize Picks. You can win big too. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS to play along today. The link is in the comments and the description in today's video. Check out Prize Picks. All right. Just over 35 minutes away from the trade deadline. Clock is ticking. We're down to the final hour, the witching hour.
The witching hour
of Scott Hansen. I will shout out your favorite team. And or you guys, shout out your favorite team. I'll close my eyes and I will pick one, and then we will talk about them. So, Coop, count me down.
3, 2, 1.
The Ravens.
Baltimore.
All right. John Harbaugh said yesterday that he really likes his roster, that he likes this Ravens team. He did not feel like they needed to make a move. And you look at this Ravens team, you can see why. 6-2 record. They are tied for the best record in the AFC. They have a 2+ game lead in their division. Things are feeling really good for the Baltimore Ravens. They are a very good football team, but they could get better. There's been a lot of rumblings about the running back position. Do they trust Gus Edwards and that whole crew to be able to get the job done? Maybe they could use some help on the offensive line. They've been banged up there. Maybe another pass rusher potentially. As they're kind of older in those spots, pass rushers look good, but maybe they could be a step better. I think I would be surprised in the next 35 minutes if the Ravens were to make a move. But if they do make a move, look out for them to get a running back potentially, because it might come down to where they can't say no to one of these top running backs that are out there with the circumstance they're in, trying to get Lamar Jackson some help, because Todd Monken is not running the same offense that we saw previously under Greg Roman. They are running the football less with Lamar Jackson than they ever had before, so they're more reliant on having good running backs. They are buyers by definition, but let's see if they actually make a move. I would be surprised. They're not selling, I can tell you that much. But I would be surprised if they actually make a move here at the deadline here. Coop, that Ravens team, good football team, but they feel pretty good about themselves. They don't feel like they have to make a move.
Yeah, I don't think they have to make a move either. They're positioned really well here to make a run in the AFC. Kind of a bounce back here for Lamar Jackson as well. So I really like where the Ravens are sitting at.
All right, shout out your favorite team, and we'll play the game again.
One more time.
Here we go.
Close your eyes. And in 3, 2, 1.
The Eagles.
Eagles.
E-A-G-L-E-S. Eagles, as they say. Eagles, they already made a couple trades. I like bringing in Kevin Byard. They had a hole at the safety spot, and they filled it, which is what Howie Roseman does. He's maybe
That's exactly what he does.
Yeah, he's maybe the most aggressive GM in the NFL. So that was their big weakness, the thing they needed to establish. They got the best record in football. I'll say this. One thing to watch with this Eagles team, this is not necessarily like trade deadline related, but just kind of their outlook for the season going forward, Coop. is that Jalen Hurts, I'm a little concerned. He's kind of turning the ball over a lot.
Yeah,
I wonder if that is going to be a lingering issue as the season goes on, or if in the second half he's going to clean that up. Because if the Eagles don't get to the Super Bowl, I would guess that would be the reason why Jalen Hurts turned the football over too
definitely
much.
something to monitor. Hurts has had a turnover problem this year. Hopefully he can rectify that in the second half of the year.
Yeah, something to watch. Tim Kawakami.
Tim Kawakami of The Athletic.
I think he's a big Corona bro, if I remember right. He writes in, NFL source, 49ers are closing in on another trade. I don't know who it's for, but it seems like they've got one more. Well, Tim, is that all you got for us? Tell me something. What is it? What are the Niners going to do?
They got one more left in them. They obviously did trade for Chase Young earlier in the day.
Coop, one more trade. Of course the Niners got one more trade.
It's the Niners.
If I were to guess what it is, curious what you think on this. I think they go corner with this next trade.
Jalen Johnson, maybe?
Jalen Johnson would be intriguing. Pat Surtain, something like that. That would be my guess. If the Niners have another trade in them, I think they go corner. By the way, earlier, in case you're just joining us, the first trade the Niners made was for Chase Young at the edge rusher position. All they gave up was a third-round pick for the former number 2 overall pick. So the Niners that already had a very good pass rush make an aggressive move and go get one of the best young pass rushers in football. I know there's been some injury concerns with Chase Young, but he has looked very good as of late. I like this move for the Niners, and the Niners are not messing around with this type of move. Seahawks are in first place in the division. Niners are saying, hey, we've come to play. Big aggressive move by the Niners to go with that, get Chase Young there. For more NFL coverage here in NFL Daily, you need to subscribe. We're bringing you daily NFL news and rumors. It's like it's in our name or something. We're also doing these live shows during the week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can see me again here in a couple days. We also have our Red Zone channel on Sunday afternoons as well. If you love the National Football League, subscribe. For more NFL coverage all season long, all off season long, this is the channel for you. We're trying to get to 345,000 subscribers. We just passed 344,000. Now we're going for 345. Let's make it happen. I need everybody to subscribe right now. I got 4,000 people watching. If everybody subscribed, we're getting 4,000 new subs. What are we waiting for? Subscribe now to NFL Daily. You'll be glad you did. Today's trades. Let's catch up to speed, shall we? Montez Sweat got things going first thing this morning as he is off to Chicago and fills a big need for that team at the edge rusher position. The Commanders give up a 2024 second-round pick to make the trade happen. Meanwhile, the Vikings, they have found a replacement for Kirk Cousins. With Cousins out for the rest of the year, they bring in Joshua Dobbs from the Cardinals. The Cardinals going to go with Kyle Allen for now until Kyler Murray is ready to go. Former college teammates, those two, by the way. They're at Texas A&M, Coop's favorite school. Cardinals they receive a 6th-round pick in exchange for the deal. The Jags get some help on the offensive line. This is my favorite trade of the day as far as somebody just, hoeing somebody. This is my favorite trade of the day. The Jags get Ezra Cleveland, one of the top 10 offensive guards of the league, and all they gave up was a 6th-round pick. What on earth were the Vikings thinking? It doesn't make any sense. Make it make sense for me, please. Big win for the Jags. I don't know what the Vikings were thinking here. And then within the last half hour, the Lions trade for Donovan Peoples-Jones, and all they gave up was a 6th-round pick. That Lions team, they're a serious contender in the NFC. They're not messing around. And they just gave up a 6th-round pick next year. They added that receiving core for Jared Goff. I like it for the Lions. Big win for them. Meanwhile, the Niners, this is a team that hasn't played well the last few weeks. They got a good pass rush, and now they're going to be more aggressive with said pass rush, getting one of the best young pass rushers in football, former number 2 overall pick, Chase Young, headed to San Francisco. And all the Commanders received was a compensatory third-round pick in 2024. So after spending that number 2 overall pick, at the end of the day, that's what they came away with. Rebuild is on in Washington for sure. Shout out your city. Where are you watching from? We'll shout you out as we get this show continuing. Down to the final half hour, the trade deadline almost here. Shout out your city, and we'll shout you out. I want to see everybody's city in the chat. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And I'm saying your city, not your team. Lewis is in Houston. I got Black Bear in Boise, Idaho. I got Tony in Detroit. I got IDK in Houston. I got Mr. The Play in Toledo. I got Rico in St. Paul, Minnesota. That's Sperry's neck of the woods. I got Braden in Salt Lake. I got Terrell in Detroit. I got Clifford in Bridgeton. I got Colin in Detroit. I got Brady in H-Town. A lot of Houston people. That's Coop's favorite city. I got Follow in Houston. I got Steve in Indiana. I got your mother in Detroit. I got your mom. I got your mom. Sean is in Hawaii. I got Caden in Wichita, Kansas. I got Block in Toronto and plenty more checking in the chat. On Seahawks, I got Slayton in Houston. I got Robbie in San Diego. The Fun family in Olympia. That sounds fun. Let's see. I got Maurice in Fairbanks. I got AP Ranch in Hamilton, Texas. So there you have it. Some of our viewers checking in. As Jack Sperry rejoins me right now. Sperry, while you were gone, Niners got better. You were here for that.
I was here for Unfortunately, I was here for the Chase Young trade, yes.
The Lions adding Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah, I saw that. Decent move for the Detroit Lions, in my opinion. Getting a little better. What did the Browns get in return? I wasn't able to
2025 6th-round pick.
Guys, we do have a trade alert.
Oh! Let's go. Who is it? Green Bay. Rasul Douglas to the Bills.
Douglas to Buffalo, adding a corner. What do you think here, Sperry?
I wasn't expecting Douglas to get traded today, but a decent player. I mean, he's definitely experienced running cover 4 and cover, quarters and all this different stuff that Buffalo likes to run there. So it's a good fit. I'm just not Rasul Douglas is just an okay corner in my opinion. Not sure it moves the needle that much in my opinion. What do you think, Teach?
Bills needed a little bit of help in the secondary. I don't know if this does a ton for them. Moving on, adding Rasul Douglas. The Packers, they have some other pieces potentially that we've looked at as trade chips potentially. I'm very curious if the Packers have another move before it's all said and done.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see here. The Packers have been certainly disappointing this year. Jordan Love doesn't seem like the guy moving forward, certainly not at the level of Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre before him. So definitely that quarterback lineage not continuing, at least in my opinion, with Jordan Love. They got some nice, decent pieces in there. I don't like their defensive coordinator, Joe Barry. I think he runs I think he's so predictable. I think teams know exactly what he's running. And he just kind of runs his system. He doesn't adjust it, and it definitely has not worked out well for the Green Bay Packers, who should not be as bad as they are. They're more talented than their record suggests, but I really think Matt LaFleur has taken a step down without Rodgers there. And then also the defense, Joe Barry is, in my opinion, probably the worst defensive coordinator in football.
Rap sheet with a little update on Jalen Johnson. After a day of exploration, Jalen Johnson expected to stay in Chicago. He made that trade request this morning, but he's apparently not going anywhere. That's going to make things awkward for the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's going to make things a little awkward. There's still 24 minutes. Who knows? But it seems like the Bears wanted a certain price for him, and nobody has been willing to step up to the plate to this point. I know the Steelers were potentially interested in adding a corner today. I know the 49ers were in the mix. I know the Eagles were in the mix. So it's not over yet, but, it looks like to this point, Jalen Johnson's going to remain in the Windy City.
Other corner trade candidates include Kier Elam, Adoree Jackson, Kenny Moore, Marcus Peters, Pat Surtain, If not Jalen Johnson, who could be the next to go?
It's tough to say, TJ. Maybe Kyer Elam. He's a good fit with Pittsburgh. I wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh makes a deal with him for maybe like a 7th-round pick. He's been a healthy scratch for Buffalo for much of this year. Kind of disappointing, but he's a good scheme fit with what Pittsburgh likes to do. They're looking for press man corners. That's kind of what Elam was known for with the Gators there in Florida, and that's what the Steelers like to do. That's what Joey Porter Jr. does so well. He's looking like a future star in this league. Maybe Kyer Elam can join. Darius Rush can join. Corey Trice Jr., some other really long, young, fast corners to try to develop moving forward in the Steel City.
All right, here's the Super Chat menu. We do have some Super Chats that will pay off later in just a moment. Any Super Chat equals a shout-out. $2, we'll talk about your team. $5, we'll give you a hot trade take. $10, a little beer cheers. $20, a round of shots. And a quick update on the scorecard. NFL Daily is at 158.
Mm-hmm.
Seahawks is at 98. $2 away from 100 on Seahawks. I'm chugging the rest of this Happy Dad when we reach 100 on Seahawks. Where are we at on Steelers?
We're at $20, but I've been away for the last 30 minutes. Do I not get a handicap here?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not, huh? Okay, so
do you think that
we got 550 people watching on Steelers right now?
Do you think
I am getting absolutely railroaded by these guys right now. Send in a $100 super chat, and I'll do something. What should I do, Coop? What should I do?
I think you have to sing "Oh Canada."
I'll sing the "Oh Canada" song right here on NFL Daily for a $100 super chat.
For those of you that don't know, it's about Matt Canada. It's a number one hit.
It's a number one hit that we have on Steelers.
Here's what I'll do. Seahawks are at 98 right now. Another 100 will basically be at 200. When we get to 200, I'll do a boot on Seahawks. If we get to 200, I'll do a boot on Seahawks. So we could, divide this up collectively. Doesn't have to be everybody sitting at 100. But if we get to 200, we'll do a boot here on the show. So that's the offer here on the show. Ethan writes with a $2 super chat. Indy needs to do anything. Sperry, I actually disagree because Indy's not a contending team. They don't need to make a move.
Yeah, I don't think they need to do any rash decisions here. Anthony Richardson out for the season now. But he looked really good in his time. Shane Steichen, I really like what Steichen's doing with the offense there in Indy. They've looked functional even with Gardner Minshew. I mean, I like Michael Pittman Jr. as well. So they've got some nice pieces. I don't think this year is their year. I understand kind of the want to go make a splash move here from a Colts fan, but at the end of the day, you got to make the right decision for your team. You don't want to give up draft capital. You don't want to make any rash decisions.
King, Prodigy, think Dallas should trade for Jalen Johnson. What do you think here, Sperry?
Well, Jerry Jones would disagree. I don't think Jerry Jones wants to make a move. He says, the Bears would have to reach out to them because Jerry Jones already said, we're not looking to trade anybody. We're open for business, but you got to call us, is what he essentially said. So unless Chicago wants to give Jalen Johnson to Dallas, I really don't see that happening, King. At the end of the day, I think if anything happens, it's going to be either to San Francisco, Philly, or Pittsburgh when it comes to Jalen Johnson today.
Chris writes in, Zach Moss to Baltimore, Kendrick Bourne to Kansas City, D-Hop to Cleveland. I don't think D-Hop's getting moved. I think they're going to hang on to him. Kendrick Bourne is on IR, so he's not getting moved. And then Zach Moss to Baltimore. I think Baltimore's going to hang with what they got at running back.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's some reports going out that they were interested in Derrick Henry. But I guess we'll just have to see on that front. I'm not sure if anything's going to get done. In my opinion, D-Hop is somebody that we've talked about on Steelers. You match D-Hop with George Pickens, two of pretty much the same player. I mean, goodness gracious, that could be dangerous in Pittsburgh. I don't think that's going to happen, though.
The Amazing World PC, Buxton, North Dakota. I assume that's where the Amazing World PC is at. Appreciate the shout-out there. Patrick says Lions need to get active and fix our D-line. We've seen the Lions add a receiver in Peoples-Jones, but D-line, you already got Aiden Hutchinson there. Do they need more?
They could add another piece, specifically a defensive end. I could see Brian Burns being an excellent fit with the Detroit Lions. They got a lot of cap space available right now. You could certainly sign a guy like Brian Burns to an extension. Definitely interesting to see what will go on. Oh! Suck it, Teej! We got a $100 super chat, and this one's coming in from Jacob Wezarek. Bang! We'll show you here in just a second, Jacob. Let's go, baby! Do we take the lead? I think we take the lead. 121 now. Where are you guys at?
We're at 108.
108. Oh, my goodness. Coop, if we can get Jacob's super chat up here. No. It's there. I swear on my life this is there.
Coop, are you blind?
We're good. No, I'm something. Let's go, Jacob.
Let's go.
Bang! And guess who joined Steelers Talk Gold Club, Coop? Guess who just joined Steelers Talk Gold Club? Let's go.
Oh.
Type Jacob in the chat. Jacob, 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 Jacob. And you know what that means, Coop? We get to sing an O Canada song here on NFL Daily. We're going to do that later. All right, Jacob, appreciate your $100 super chat, my friend. Let's go Steelers.
So Seahawks fans, we're down by $20 right now. We going to let that happen?
Don't let them come back.
Come on now. Come on now. We're down by $20 to Steelers, to this goofy tall guy.
Don't let them win. Steelers Nation for life. Let's go.
Let's spam me in the chat. We can all get on the same page here together. Spam me in the chat as much as you can. Let's break our chat record. Our chat record of 1,244 was earlier. Can we do better than that right now? As we're down to the final 20 minutes. Can we break that record?
Coop.
Spam me and Sperry shot
I'll say this right now. If we break the chat rate record right now, both Tej and I will eat one of these nasty jelly beans for you guys, all right? Type me in the chat. Let's go.
Sperry, shout out everybody spamming me.
All right, I see Flawless. I see D'Angelo. I see Fideo. I see Seahawk. I see Wesley. I see Eric. I see Ducky. I see Lucas. I see Jem. I see John Lucas. I see Benjamin. I see Kyle Schlater. I see Andrew. I see David versus Goliath. Steelers versus Seahawks. Let's go. We got John Lyons. We got Ducky Duck. We've got Amy Richardson. We've got Denny Dice. Come on, baby. Break the record right now. Let's go. I'm hungry. I want a jelly bean. Let's go. We got Chase in the chat. Joel, Robert, Ethan, Bob D, John Lyons, Hams, Drankin29, Katon, and King Tone. Keep them coming. Break the record, and we'll do some jelly beans for you guys. Let's go. Let's have some fun.
Faster.
Get them in. Get them in. Let's go.
That's what she said.
Teacher, there was... Teacher... Yo, pause.
All right. We need to get to 345,000 subscribers before the deadline. I've been told if we do not get to 345 before the deadline, we're shutting off the stream.
That's right. We're done. So if you guys want to see that O Canada song today, you better be clicking that subscribe button right now.
Subscribe to NFL Daily. Subscribe to Seahawks Today, Steelers Talk. Let's get to 345 on the channel right now. Not wait a second more.
Coop, we just got another 5 on Steelers. We're currently at 121.
All right. Trade alert. Rasul Douglas headed to Buffalo. 5th-round pick. The Packers receive a 3rd-round pick in the deal. Sperry, your thoughts?
Rasul Douglas, decent player, but I think we're just going to rapid fire here. I like the trade for both sides. 3rd-round pick for Green Bay is a great get there for Green Bay, in my opinion. Definitely will be good. All right, then we get to Detroit here with Donovan Peoples-Jones going to the Browns in exchange for a 2025 6th-round pick. Personally, I like this for the Lions. DPJ, decent receiver, not necessarily going to be a number 1 guy for you or anything, but the Lions could always use some extra weaponry there on offense. Teej, your thoughts?
Yeah, I like Donovan Peoples-Jones a lot. You pair him with Jared Goff in that offense. We know how good the Lions are. Chances take a step up, continue to compete there in that division. Meanwhile, the Niners, they had Chase Young, and all they had to give up was a third-round pick. The Niners, they've lost 3 in a row. They weren't going to sit quietly.
Yeah, I mean, I just got done breaking down this trade on Commanders, and holy crap, this is a terrible trade for the Commanders, man. Just to put this in perspective, if you would have kept Chase Young for the rest of the season and let him walk in free agency, you probably would have got a third-round compensatory pick in 2025. Anyway, all this trade does for the Commanders is move that pick up 1 year to 2024. This is an absolutely terrible trade by GM Martin Mayhew. Absolutely fraudulent franchise of the Commanders right now. And Chase Young, I mean, the 49ers, good teams, absolutely. Oh my goodness, okay. I just got hit with some big news here for Steelers. Unfortunately, Patrick J. Rooney has passed away. Son of Arthur Rooney, the original owner of the Steelers, and brother of Daniel M. Rooney. So really bad news for the Steelers organization today. I just got hit with that news, man. That sucks.
I got a statement from the Steelers as well that says, we are saddened by the loss of Patrick J. Rooney, son of Arthur Rooney Sr., brother of Daniel M. Rooney, like his twin brother John, who passed away in 2022. Pat grew up on the north side of Pittsburgh and graduated from North Catholic High School. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Sperry, the Rooney family, they're as good as it gets in football.
Yeah, they're a very classy family, man. I mean, I just got hit with that news. That's crazy. I know the Rooney family is just so tied to the city of Pittsburgh. And everybody that lives in that city understands how important that family is to the fabric of the city itself. So to have a member of that family pass away today is definitely rough for Steelers fans. Rest in peace, Mr. Rooney. Oh my goodness, that's really sad news, man.
Yes.
I can't even really put together good words to describe how that affects the Steelers community right now.
Yeah, certainly so. All right. Let's catch up on some of these more trades that have gone on here. The Jags bringing in Ezra Cleveland, offensive guard, in exchange for a 6th-round pick. And this one was probably the biggest head-scratcher of the day. Ezra Cleveland, a top 10 guard in this league. And the Vikings, why would you give up? What did you gain from this trade?
Well, you gain like a 5% chance maybe of getting a starter in the future with that 6th-round pick. And that's not nearly enough compensation, in my opinion. I think Ezra was worth at least a 5th rounder. Right? At least put it up to a 5th rounder. A 6th-round pick, the hit rate on those picks are so freaking low when it comes to turning them into starters that you're pretty much just giving Ezra Cleveland away at this point.
Yeah. The Vikings get Josh Dobbs, a 2024 conditional 7th-round pick, and the Cardinals receive a 6th-round pick. Vikings trying to put a Band-Aid on this situation of losing Cousins.
Yeah, Dobbs is going to be their backup quarterback for now. Jaron Hall, 5th-round rookie out of BYU, is going to take over. Definitely an interesting situation there in Minnesota.
The Bears, with the biggest trade of the trade deadline so far, getting Montez Sweat, and the Commanders receiving a 2nd-round pick. The Bears, you get the playmaker you wanted, but now you got to pay him a lot too. Montez Sweat, going to be a force to be reckoned with for the next years to come.
This was the trade that I was okay with the Washington Commanders. You get a really good draft pick in exchange for Montez. You don't have that pickle between paying Montez or Chase Young. So this is the trade I was okay with, but with the Chase Young deal on top of that, I mean, it's just a bad day for the Commanders organization, in my opinion.
Update from Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated. Tweet coming in just a few moments ago. The Patriots listened and are hanging on to young contract year guys like Josh Uche, Kyle Duggar, Big Mike. Also, I'm told they never got any calls on Mac Jones or Zeke Elliott. Patriots are a bad football team.
Very
Bill
bad.
Belichick probably not going to be back after this upcoming season. Now you hang on to those guys, and I got to tell you, I like Josh Uche and Kyle Duggar. I look at that Patriots team, and you had a chance. You're not going anywhere. a missed opportunity not to get some draft capital here.
Yeah, I mean, Belichick can be, kind of a stingy old gentleman, as we know. He probably wanted a certain amount for these players, didn't get it. I see Kyle Duggar as a piece in this Patriots defense for years to come. They love to run those multiple safety looks in New England. Duggar can play anywhere. He can play a hybrid linebacker role, which is what he's been playing there the last 2 years. He's really good at it. Michael Onwenu, another really good interior offensive lineman. I'm sure Belichick probably wanted like a 4th-round pick for him, but after Ezra Cleveland went off the board for a 6th, people just weren't going to give a 4th-rounder for a guard. And Josh Uche, very athletic speed rusher off the edge. These are Belichick's guys. Belichick loves these players, so in order for him to get rid of them, it's going to need to be a little bit more.
Will there be another trade? Y for yes, N for no. What do you guys think? Weigh in the comment section. Let us know. Y for yes, N for no. Less than 10 minutes ago. Sperry, yes or no?
I'm going to say yes. Last year there was a couple trades right at the deadline, so I think there's going to be a trade this year. By the way, $20 super chat from King Yinzer.
We got plenty of super chats on the Seahawks to catch up on, too.
Let's go.
Let's give some quick shout-outs. Everybody that is answering, will there be another trade or not? I see David says yes. Jana says yes. Broncos Country says yes. Colby's World says yes. Jackson says yes. Combat says yes. Jack says yes. Chiefs fan says yes, and more. Sperry, who else we got to shout out here?
So we got Free Young Boy in there. He says yes. VB says yes. We got Lucas saying yes. We got Bob D saying yes. Death Ninja saying yes. Brew Crew saying no. Jesse saying yes. Steve N saying no. Cole Q says no. K-Ton says yes. It seems like there's a good mix here. Mostly yeses, though, Tej, for sure.
As we're down to the final minute. Final minutes, 7 to go till the trade deadline hits.
Remember, there's always that little point in time, like the fax machine's got to catch up after the deadline.
Yes. Last year, there was not a deal after the deadline hit. So
yeah,
we'll see
correct.
how that goes. But we'll stay alive and see how that works out. Will there be another trade or not? Y for yes, N for no. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. You can get a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the promo code CLNS to play along today. Daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. You pick 2 or more players, and on any given prop, you get the choice. Are they going to hit more or less than what's assigned to them, whether it be pass completions, passing yards, receptions, receiving yards, and more? I'm rolling with Dak to have less than 283.5 passing yards. Josh Allen to have less than 270.5 passing yards. If I put $20 down on that, I'm making $60. You can play along at home at prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS to play today. Daily fantasy made easy. A lot of super chats to get through. Let's roll through these real quick. DJ, Houston trading for someone big. Sperry, yes or no?
No, I'm not saying that.
Dylan, Steelers.
Would love Onwenu, Johnson, or Elam. Elam is a possibility. The Bears are saying Chicago's saying they're not trading Johnson, and Patriots aren't trading Onwenu, so maybe Elam.
Alan says talk about the Chiefs. Chiefs are still a great football team. I'm not fretting on what happened last week. They're going to be fine.
They're going to be fine. That's all I have to say on that.
Josh says, Bengals, I think they need to go for Hurst or Pitts. Bengals look like they're kind of staying pat.
Yeah, I think they're going to stay in pat. They
Just
really
getting
like
Joe Burrow healthy is a big win for them.
Yeah, they've got Chase, they've got Higgins, they've got the guys there that they need. I don't think they need to make a move here.
A 50 in a foreign currency, I don't know. We appreciate it. Bang.
SEK.
South Korea?
South Korea.
How in the heck did the Niners add Chase Young for a 3rd rounder? As a Seahawks fan, that's pretty darn scary. Yes, Sam?
Sweden.
Swedish.
One Swedish krona is worth 9 cents. Okay, so that's a little bit lower, but that's okay. We appreciate you, Daniel.
We appreciate it. Michael with a 9 as a former Boot Hall of Famer. Hey, you're more than welcome. You can get another spot back on. $100 to join the Emerald Club on Seahawks. My opinion matters more. Give me Almond Joy. Screw Butterfingers. Let's not forget Tyler likes Arby's over Taco Time. Of course, that disqualifies him. Jack Sparrow, favorite Halloween candy. Go.
Twix. Twix is my favorite.
Good answer. Michael with a $10 super chat on Seahawks. Personally, I think the Niners trade was better, but it didn't address any of their big needs. Quarterback, O-line, secondary. I think the Hawks trade was worse, but helps address our need for QB pressures. Who's done better so far on trade deadline day, Niners or Seahawks?
I think 49ers. I mean, you get Chase Young for a third-round pick. I mean, that's an absolutely incredible deal. I think the Commanders probably should have got at least a second-rounder. John Lynch just absolutely fleeced him on that one.
All right, I owe a lot of shots ahead, so let's get this going. First one, Puerto Rico not letting the stupid Steelers win this. Go Hawks. Agreed.
You hear that, Steelers fans? They're calling you stupid. Get those super chats in and let's win this.
Also said, go Hawks. Go Hawks indeed. Keep it going.
Everyday Jay. Everyday Jay.
Steelers still suck.
Do you guys hear this? You guys hear this, Steelers fans? Let's
Steelers
get
suck.
this going. Get it going.
They cheated in Super Bowl 40. Cheers.
Make these guys suffer. Let's go. King Yinzer, Anthony Fuller.
Keep it going.
We are not worthy. We are not worthy. Thank you for the 20-piece, Mr. Anthony Fuller.
Keep it going.
Let's go, man. I love it, Anthony. You're the best.
Everyday Jay said Steelers still suck. Cheers to that.
Goodness gracious,
And then Michael Hyde said, go Hawks. Steelers suck. I'll take another of that. Michael Hyde, cheers to you.
By the way, Coop, we do have a $2 super chat on Steelers from
What's our numbers at right now? Maine is at 172.
Steelers is at 149.
And the Seahawks are winning at 208. I owe a boot. We'll do that at the end of the show. All right, 2 minutes. We are shutting down the stream if we do not get to 345,000 subscribers. We are currently at 344,165. Sperry, I would hate to have to shut this down before the deadline.
Me too, man. Let's get this going right now. Click that subscribe button if you want us to stay live for even longer past the deadline. Let's get this done, people. Let's go.
Sub. Now we go to Mike Kleiss, who covers the Denver Broncos. He said this, despite receiving offers for a few key players, Broncos are expected to stand pat with no trade deadline, according to the source. Team confident in its group of players. Mike, if the Chiefs would have won Sunday, I feel like today would have gone totally different for Denver.
I mean, it's definitely possible, but Sean Payton, their head coach, has said in the past that he likes the players that they have on the roster. He is definitely shown confidence in this group, especially in guys like Patrick Surtain, who I didn't really think was a realistic possibility anyway. So I really like what I'm seeing. Obviously, on Sunday, you get a huge upset versus the Chiefs. Overall, though, this season has definitely lost. Hopefully, in year 2 for Broncos fans, Sean Payton can get things going.
Final minute, make a wish.
Let's go.
Will there
be a trade at the last second?
Y for yes, N for no.
By the way, for everyone watching the Steelers chat, there is currently some trolls in there saying the Steelers just traded for Jalen Johnson. That's not true. It's not true.
Mark Sanchez says we didn't get to his super chat. Mark,
I got to you, Mark.
Mark, I'll take a shot anyway, whatever it may be. Mark, you know I'm drinking for you. You know you're a real one.
I got you, Mark.
Steelers fans,
Cheers.
We're currently losing our super chat battle. We cannot lose.
Here it is, Mark. I will not sit by and let the Steelers win this either. Let's go, Mark Sanchez.
And then Michael Hyde.
Go Hawks. Down to the wire. Here we go. Will there be another trade at the final seconds?
Are we ready?
Here we go. Let's start at 10.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Happy New Year!
It's done. It's over.
Any trades?
No trades.
It doesn't seem like there's any
see.
trades. Give it a sec
see.
here.
Let the fax machine refresh. We'll see what happens.
All right.
Still nothing.
Oh, there is a move.
There's a move.
Oh.
Who is it?
Wait, just kidding.
Oh,
wow.
Coop. You got me all
got
excited here, man.
Spam F Coop in the chat.
F Coop, 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 F Coop,
I love the
F Coop, F
I love the
Coop.
hate.
He loves the hate, man. We still owe an O Canada, by the way, Coop.
We'll do that at the very end.
We'll do that in the boot at the very end of the show.
Sounds good. Sounds good, my friend. So if you're a Steelers fan watching this, we haven't forgot about your O Canada. It is coming. But come on, every $20 we get, we'll do an O Canada. Let's go.
Ian Rappaport, no more trades.
No more trades, according to Ian Rappaport. So that's going to do it for today's trade deadline, Mr. Teager.
Let us know who is the biggest winner
Who
from the
won?
NFL trade deadline.
Winners and losers.
Coming up shortly.
We will do a segment on this in just a moment with reaction to all that went down today. But let's get our initial reaction and thoughts as you guys weigh in the comment section. Biggest winner from the NFL trade deadline. For me, it's two teams specifically, Sperry. The San Francisco 49ers, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly those two teams. The 49ers get Chase Young, a guy that's 24 years old, top 5 in pressures in the National Football League right now, for a third-round pick, a conditional third-round pick, man. Like, I don't understand that move by the Commanders. They're probably one of my biggest losers today. But then Jacksonville got a top 10 guard for a 6th-round pick. I mean, goodness gracious, that's an incredible, incredible move by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, who is the biggest winner from the trade deadline? Checking in on the chat here. I'm seeing Jags, Niners. I saw a Bronco answer in there. What? Bronco didn't do anything. Let's see. What else we got in here? Space says Washington was a loser. Washington was a big loser today.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody that covers that team here at Chat Sports, you know, talk about Chase Young rumors, Montez Sweat rumors for the last, 7 months now, even going back to the offseason. We thought one of them might get dealt before the draft. And it was always an or conversation, right? It was Chase Young or Montez Sweat, right? I never really saw it that I really didn't see the Commanders trading both of them. But that's what they did. They're embracing the rebuild right now. I think the compensation for Chase Young is not even close to what it should have been in order to get rid of him, because you could have just kept him on your team for the rest of the season. And then if he leaves in free agency, you're getting a 3rd-round compensatory pick anyway. So why are you letting him go now when you're trying to make the playoffs? It just doesn't make sense for the Commanders. They're a big-time loser, in my opinion.
All right. Yes, Sam. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me, man. Maybe Patriots too, Sam? I don't know. Yeah, okay. All right, all good. F me, I guess.
Closing time.
All right, got a $5 super chat from Big Bo. Says, as a Niners fan, F the Sea Chickens. Go
Boo.
Steelers. Let's go.
Boo.
Can we count that towards my total? Let's count that towards my total. All right.
So what is Steelers at?
We're at 155 with that super chat.
Seahawks were at 208. And then Maine is at 179.
Oh, my goodness.
It's
Wait,
Yeah.
what Yinzer in the chat right now is going to be a Steelers talk legend and put a 50-piece in here?
Coop loves a 3-way. We are down to the wire. Who is going to come out on top? Seahawks fans, can you push us over the finish line? We can't be losing to the Steelers channel today. We're up right now, but we need to run up the score. We need to make sure we win this.
Steelers fans, we need to get this thing going right now. I want to slap this guy so bad with a plate right now.
Here's the deal.
I don't think we got tortillas. I think we got plates.
If the winner of this, in case you're just joining us, whoever wins the Super Chat battle gets to slap the other one with a tortilla. I want to slap Sperry so bad with this tortilla.
Come on, Steelers fans. I need you right now. Help a fellow Yinzer out. Let's go.
Should we put a clock on it, like, after this cut?
Yeah, let's make it to the end of the cut.
All right.
Wait, so we're gonna do two? We're gonna do 2-man on the winners and losers cut?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
The kids say. Yep. Cool. All right. So here's the plan. We have one more segment to go. After the segment's over with, we will cut it off, and we will determine a winner of this Super Chat battle between Seahawks and Steelers.
If you're a Steelers fan in there right now, help a brother out. Help a fellow Yinzer out. Get those Super Chats in. Let's go.
Seahawks is at 208. What's Steelers at?
We're at 155. So
All
right now we're just over $50 away from taking over first place.
That is the challenge. Seahawks, can we have the lead? Can we hang on to it through the end of this next segment? Biggest loser from the trade deadline. Weigh in that comment section. We'll do this segment. Then we'll come back and we'll pay off the old Canada song. We'll do a boot.
By the way, Coop, we missed a couple of Steelers Super Chats. So if you Super Chatted and it hasn't been on screen yet, don't worry. It is coming, okay? Don't worry. We will get to everybody's Super Chats.
Here we go. When Coop gives me the go-ahead, then we'll start the segment. But let's go ahead and give some shout-outs.
Let's see who people think is the biggest loser. I see Cowboys in there. I don't really think that they're a loser, and I don't think they're a winner. They just kind of did nothing here at the trade deadline.
Yeah. And the Cowboys are a good team.
Yeah, Cowboys are a decent team. Are they a playoff Super Bowl contender? I would argue no.
Oliver says the Rams were the biggest loser of the trade deadline. The Rams, that's a team that this is kind of the last hoorah, the last go-round. The Rams probably should have made a move.
Well, I think the Rams feel like next year they're hoping that some of these young players that they got on defense, the defense is actually not as bad as I expected going into the year. They could potentially bring everybody back. Stafford, Donald, everybody.
Sam.
Quiet deadline this year. 12 deals on trade deadline last year.
Okay.
So if you didn't hear Sam there, 8 trades this deadline, 12 last year. Steelers were actually the ones that made 2 of those trades last year. Chase Claypool to the Bears, and then also for William Jackson the third. Little Steelers anecdote there.
All right, Kenny Pickettsburg.
Kenny Pickettsburg right here. This is a Steelers fan saying, Steelers finalizing trade with Bears for Johnson. Here's the thing. That's not true. There's a bunch of liars in the Steelers talk chat right now. I really wish it were true. I hope he was a Steeler, but he's not. Then we got a $1 from Todd Hastings. We also got one from Hot Piss. So we got a $5 from 110 Shamir. What's up, my man? Says Steelers Nation. I love it. And then Hot Piss with $2 super chat.
What a name.
What a name there. That might take the cake. That's the MVP for today's show. Trade candidate for a case of Gatorade. 100%. I would love a nice glass of ice cold Gatorade in exchange for Matt Canada. What's up?
Best flavor of Gatorade is what?
I like orange personally.
Yellow.
Orange and yellow are the best though.
Yellow's my favorite.
Orange and yellow are the best.
No. Red and cool blue.
No. Red's the
What?
worst.
Red
is
sucks.
delicious.
Red's the worst.
No,
Red
it's
is the
not.
worst flavor.
All right, enough
blue.
Gatorade talk, fellas. Let's
Enough Gatorade.
Let's recap this trade deadline here when you guys are ready to go.
Also, Brett said change the poll. Okay, he's got it. All right, here we go. Let me adjust my headset, and then we will get to this cut. Here we go. I'll lead in and set Sperry up. Yep. All right, here we go. 3, 2, and 1. The NFL trade deadline is in the books. Welcome into this edition of NFL Daily by Chat Sports. He's Jack Sperry. I'm Tyler Jones, breaking down the winners and losers from the trade deadline. Sperry, let's get started without further ado. And we begin with the San Francisco 49ers, who made a very aggressive move, adding Chase Young to the fold. All they gave up was a third-round pick. To do so, the Niners have lost 3 games in a row. Now you bring in Chase Young into the fold. We already know they had a good pass rush, a former number 2 overall pick. I know he's dealt with the injuries, but considering the talent level, this is incredible value for San Francisco.
San Francisco came into the day. You knew they were going to be a little bit aggressive. It looked like they were trying to get Jalen Johnson. The Bears end up holding on to him. But you get Chase Young, a 24-year-old that's top 5 in pressures in the National Football League right now, and you add him to a defensive line that already has Nick Bosa, last year's Defensive Player of the Year, and Javon Hargrave, one of the best interior pass rushers in the National Football League. Chase Young, somebody that's absolutely going to make an impact right away. And if they lose him in free agency this year, the 49ers are still going to get that third-round pick back in the form of a compensatory pick in 2025.
Meanwhile, on the losers list, the team on the opposite side, the Washington Commanders, they move on from Chase Young as well as Montez Sweat, and all they have to show for it is a second-round pick and a third-round pick. Sperry, not a great day to be a Commander fan.
No, it's not. I mean, you start the day pretty good, right? The Montez Sweat trade, I was completely on board with, right? It's really tough to pay both Montez Sweat and Chase Young. You're already paying Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne to big-time contracts. It just wasn't feasible. And you get a really good draft pick in exchange for Sweat services, a second-round pick that's probably going to be maybe a top 5 pick in the second round. I think that's an excellent value if you're the Washington Commanders, but then you go to the Chase Young trade with the San Francisco 49ers, and you could have gotten a third-round compensatory pick if you left in free agency. So it doesn't really make sense on the compensation end of it. I don't think GM Martin Mayhew did a very good job here. I think this move was definitely forced by Josh Harris and this new ownership group trying to rebuild this franchise. And as a result, it's just the same old Commanders stuff going on there in the nation's capital.
Our pinned comment today, who was the biggest loser from the NFL trade deadline? We think it's the Commanders. What say you? Weigh in on our pinned comment today. Let us know who you believe that is. Back to the winners list we go. That's where we find the Philadelphia Eagles. They bring in Kevin Byard, fill in a big need at the safety position. The Eagles, this is a team that has the best record in the NFL right now. Really their only weakness, they were able to take care of. Howie Roseman, once again, aggressive at the trade deadline, making a good move.
It just doesn't seem fair that Howie Roseman can keep getting away with these kinds of deals. I mean, Kevin Byard is one of the best free safeties in the National Football League, and all you have to give up is a 5th, a 6th, and Terrell Edmonds, the guy that you're giving away at this point. I mean, seriously? I mean, I just don't get it, man. The Eagles are such a well-run organization. The Titans definitely let the Eagles off the hook on this one.
And that wasn't the only trade the Eagles made. They also gave up straight the defensive lineman to Atlanta, received a 6th-round pick, and the Falcons receive a 2025 7th-round pick. Real quick on the Falcons here, they needed help on the defensive line. They got it here.
Yes, they did. I thought they might have been in play for a Montez Sweat or a Chase Young as well, but Contavious Street's going to help out in the interior or on their defensive line right now. Kind of a lower-level move here, but overall pretty good for both sides.
Back to the losers list. That's where we find the Minnesota Vikings with the biggest head-scratcher trade of all as they move on from Ezra Cleveland. And if you nerd out and look at Pro Football Focus, you may notice that Ezra Cleveland is graded out very well. He's a 70 in about every category, top 10 offensive guard in football, and he goes to the Jags for next to nothing. A 6th-round pick was all the Vikings got here. I know the Vikings brought in Dalton Reisner a couple weeks ago. Big win for the Jags, protection for Trevor Lawrence. But what on earth were the Vikings thinking?
I couldn't tell you, Tej. I mean, Minnesota, they did give up a 6th-round pick in that Joshua Dobbs trade to Arizona. They did get that 6th-round pick back with this trade of Ezra Cleveland. But I definitely think you could have probably gotten something a little bit more for Ezra Cleveland's services. Like you said, he's a top 10 grading guard in football right now. He was doing a really good job protecting Kirk Cousins this year. Now he's a Jacksonville Jaguar. He's going to be protecting Trevor Lawrence.
And the Vikings hang on to Danielle Hunter, who is in contention to be the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year right now with 10 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles. Spare Dog, I have to think that the Vikings, with the way Danielle Hunter's playing, with not trading him, the extension's got to be coming, right?
Yeah, the Vikings, I mean, if you don't trade him at the deadline here, you know, you're already selling pieces off like Ezra Cleveland. This tells me that the Vikings absolutely plan to bring Danielle Hunter back. I mean, I've seen this guy up close and personal. I used to work security at US Bank Stadium. This guy is built like a statue. Like you said, he's in the front running here to win Defensive Player of the Year. You got to keep those players in your building if you're Minnesota. Even if a rebuild is coming, you need Danielle Hunter on the edge there up north.
More to come here on NFL Daily, but first, let's tell you about today's sponsor. That is Prize Picks, which is daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. You choose 2 or more players, and on any given prop, you get the choice of more or less, whether it is passing yards, passing completions, receiving yards, catches, whatever it may be. This week on Prize Picks, and if you were playing with me on Prize Picks a couple weeks ago, we won big. We're going to win big again this week, folks. I'm putting $20 down to win 60 on Dak to have less than his given passing yard amount. Same with Josh Allen as well, with less than 270.5. Play along with Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the promo code CLNS and get a $100 deposit match. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Another trade winner, Donovan Peoples-Jones, is off to Detroit, where he gets freed from a Cleveland Browns offense where he had disappeared. Now goes to this Detroit team that is in contention. One of the better teams in the NFC. The Lions didn't have to give up a ton for him. And we know how explosive that offense is. Jared Goff's been playing some really good football. Jack, I like this restart for Donovan Peoples-Jones to not only get out of Cleveland, but to go to a team like Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Donovan Peoples-Jones, you got to be jumping for joy right now. Ben Johnson is one of my favorite offensive play callers in the game today. That Detroit Lions offense is just absolutely spectacular. They protect the quarterback well. Jared Goff is distributing the ball well, and Donovan Peoples-Jones is the type of receiver that can help them out and try to get them their first Super Bowl in franchise history. Really like this move for the Lions, and Donovan Peoples-Jones is a happy man right now.
Who's the biggest winner from the NFL trade deadline? Weigh in the comments section and give us a team or a player that comes to mind, the biggest winner. Let us know what you think. Back to the losers list, Jalen Johnson. We began the day on Tuesday with a trade request from Jalen Johnson wanting out of Chicago, did not want to be a member of the Bears anymore. Instead, he's still a member of the Bears. And now we head into the second half of 2023. Jalen Johnson having a career season, the best year of his career so far. And Jax, here he is still with Chicago. Going to be a little awkward here the next few weeks.
Yeah, the Chicago Bears were actually more buyers than sellers this year at the trade deadline. They add Montez Sweat. They keep Jalen Johnson. They shopped him around. It looked like they wanted a second-round pick. Nobody was willing to take the bait there. But Jalen Johnson, top 10 graded corner in the National Football League right now. He's having a career year. He's still really young. He's looking like a cornerstone of that Bears defense moving forward, and that's exactly what he should be. Good job by Ryan Poles to not give him up for anything less than he's worth.
Folks, I want to make sure you subscribe to NFL Daily by Chat Sports as we're covering the National Football League each and every day with the latest news and rumors, trades, draft, free agency, and more. We are live for the trade deadline. We'll be live again for our live edition of NFL Daily on Tuesday, Red Zone Channel on Sunday. Sperry, if you are a football head, if you love the National Football League, this is the channel for you.
100%, man. We got daily NFL content right here on the channel. So if you want the latest news and rumors here around the National Football League, do me a favor, click that subscribe button right now.
And last on the winners list, the Jacksonville Jaguars. We told you earlier we really liked that trade for Ezra Cleveland, not giving up a ton. And with Trevor Lawrence and that team, here they are. They're still, without a doubt, the team to beat in the AFC South. You get him a little more protection. I know the season didn't start off the way they would have liked, but the Jags are a talented football team. They're capable of putting it together and being right up there with the best in the AFC.
Absolutely. You know, my Steelers just played the Jacksonville Jaguars last week. And, you know, the Jags didn't play their best game. Trevor Lawrence had a really bad pick in the red zone, all these different things. But the Jags seem to just find ways to win football games. And, you know, I think the Jags might be just a little bit overrated right now because the offensive line as a whole has struggled. But listen, good teams find a way to win ball games. That's what Jacksonville is doing right now. And they just added a top 10 guard in football to their lineup for a 6th-round pick. That's an excellent move. The Jaguars are better today than they were yesterday.
Last on the losers list, the Denver Broncos. Now, they did just beat the Chiefs a couple days ago. That might be some new life for that Broncos team. They didn't sell like many people expected them to, but Sperry, they didn't buy either. They kind of just stood pat. What are the Broncos doing?
I don't know. The best answer that I have for you, Tej, is that Sean Payton really does like the pieces that he has there in Denver right now. given the way this season has started. I don't know why you would be thinking that personally. Now, I'm not in that building. I don't know as much about this team as Sean Payton does, the head coach, but it definitely seems like there were some pieces here that you could have moved, especially guys on one-year contracts that might not be signing back with you, that you could have gotten some trade capital for. You're not going to be making the playoffs this year, at least in my opinion. Now, maybe Denver thinks that they're still in the playoff hunt, and that's what they're thinking right now, but definitely a loser in my opinion. I would have tried to get something for some of these one-year contracts that they got on their roster.
Sperry doesn't think they're a playoff team. I say hell no on the Broncos as a playoff team. You kidding me? What do you say? Let us know in the comment section. Y for yes, N for no. Let producer Sam know that you don't think the Broncos are going to be a playoff team. And, folks, we will see you next time right here on NFL Daily. He's Jack Sperry. I'm Tyler Jones. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us here for our trade deadline coverage. All right. Okay. Well, so you don't have to worry about spamming F Sam this time.
Yeah.
All right, Sperry. I believe we need to give the people in O Canada.
All right, I agree. Is your mic on, my friend?
My mic's on. Do you know it, Tej?
I do know it. We need to get a boot ready, and we also need a tortilla as well.
Yeah, I don't think we have tortillas. I think we have plates,
Okay.
which hurt more, okay? So if somebody can get a boot and a plate.
If somebody can get a boot and a plate, and then Sperry will sing, and then we'll take care of the other
Executive
things.
producer Sam is taking care of you.
All right.
Maintenance people.
So I'm going to sing this on the spot. I'll say this before we start. Let the Steelers Nation know. Is that what you guys call yourself?
Yep, Steelers Nation.
I was on the F Canada train before anybody else. I thought he sucked at LSU.
He did.
He's
been bad everywhere. Maryland, LSU, Pittsburgh, everywhere.
I couldn't believe that he got another OC job after that debacle at LSU.
He failed upwards. He got the OC job of one of the most storied franchises in this league, and he hasn't put up a single 400 yards. As Coop likes to say, he sucks.
All right, here we go.
Ready?
Oh, Canada, you dumb and stupid man. All know you suck except for Mike Tomlin. With burning hearts we see you suck, calling jet sweeps 1, 2, 3. From far and wide, oh Canada, we share our hate for thee. F-U-C-K, Canada!
Let's go.
Steelers Talk fans know that song well. Matt Canada is the worst offensive coordinator in the National Football League. I don't care what anybody says. Steelers need to replace him. Unfortunately, they're going to keep him for the rest of this year, Tej. It's just I don't understand it, man. So really appreciate that $100 super chat that allowed us to sing it. All right, we got a boot right here for Mr. Teager.
All right. Do we have the tortilla or the plate, whatever that is?
Yeah, go get a paper plate, Smitty.
Okay, vote in our new live poll on our NFL Daily channel. Will the Broncos make the playoffs? Y for yes, N for no. Sperry and I, producer Sam, say no. Coop, what's your vote? No. Coop says no. We're all in agreement saying no.
Complete fluke last week. Complete fluke. I mean, I'm sorry if I'm offending any Broncos fans in the chat right now. It's not going to happen for you this year, man.
Okay.
Yeah,
that works.
Yeah, that works.
So let's cut it off right now. What is the final number on Steelers?
It's 150. We didn't get any super chats.
Seahawks is 208. We won! We won! We won, Seahawks fans! We did it! I get to slap Sperry with this plate after the boot. Seahawks fans, let's go!
I'll say this.
Let's go!
I'll say this.
Spam F Sperry. Spam F Sperry.
I'm disappointed, man. I am a little bit disappointed. I mean, we got the 100. I mean, that was awesome. We got the 20 from Anthony, but man, we lost to the Seahawks. You know what, man? I'm okay with this. I'll take the 6 rings over a slap in the face any day. I'm cool with where the Steelers are. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.
Spam F Sperry in the chat. Let's go full screen. I'll slap him with this plate, and then I'm taking down the boot, and then we'll sign off.
All right. Am I coming over there?
We'll go full screen. We'll go full screen on one.
Yeah, come to my camera here. All right. I'm sorry, Steelers Nation. I failed you, man. We couldn't bring home the victory today. But guess what? We still got more Super Bowl chips at Acrisure Stadium, all right?
I promise I'm not short, by the way.
He's short.
I'm 6'2", but this guy's like 6'7".
Okay, ready?
All right. Am I going face on, straight on? Or?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Don't hit me with your hand, please.
I won't. 3, 2, 1.
Oh!
How did that feel?
Oh! God damn, man. Oh! Teacher didn't hold back. Oh!
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to have to get checked for a concussion after that one, man. Here we go, Teach.
Spam chug in the chat. Who's got the timer?
I got you.
All right, here we go. Spam chug.
Chug, 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 chug. Keep going, Teach. Type chug in the chat. Type chug in the chat. Let's go.
What's up?
Teach is downing it. Look at him go, ladies and gentlemen. There it is.
All right, fellas.
What was my time? Oh,
16.2.
16.2. Not bad.
hell yeah. We'll take that.
That adrenaline was pumping after the slap there, I
Oh.
think. You gotta get that going more often there, Teach.
All right, we got to go. Sperry, a lot of fun today, my guy.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, Teach. Really great talking football with all you guys. Thank you so much for sticking around to the very end. You guys are the best, man.
Subscribe to
Make
all
sure
our
you subscribe
channels.
to the channel right now for daily NFL news and rumors content.
Done just yet, apparently.
By the way, I'll add another loser to the trade deadline today. How about the Titans?
That's a good one.
The Titans had a number of players they could have parted ways with today. DeAndre Hopkins, Derrick Henry. It seems like Mike Vrabel thinks that they're still up in playoff contention. What do you think?
I'll add another loser to the list. Sperry and Steelers talk after what we just witnessed. Alex says nobody can outdrink Tyler Jones. John Smith says Sperry is going to be in the protocol.
Yeah, I might be in the concussion protocol. I'm not even lying, man. I might have to get myself checked.
But back to your question. As far as the Titans go, that's a team that was expected at the deadline. The reports were before the season that the Titans were going to be at the deadline either big buyers or big sellers.
And they
were
neither.
All they did was move on from Kevin Byard.
Yeah, I mean, their offensive line is in complete shambles right now. You did get a win against the Falcons last week. Will Levis looked damn good, 4 touchdowns. They're going to be playing against my Steelers on Thursday Night Football.
Tannehill.
Yeah, they still have Tannehill. They couldn't unload him. I guess nobody wanted him.
Well, think about this. Even if you were of the belief you were still contenders, why the hell are you hanging on to Tannehill?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of people didn't want Tannehill.
Maybe.
Because he's been looking washed this year, man. I don't know what I would trade for Tannehill right now. I mean, he hasn't shown any good things. I mean, granted, the offensive line has been terrible, but Will Levis just trotted out there with 4 tutties in his debut. I mean, I think Ryan Tannehill's cooked. Let me know what you guys think.
He's Jack Sperry for producer Sam, for Smitty, for Coop. I'm Tyler Jones. Have a great rest of your day.
And here we go, Steelers.
We're going on loop. We'll also be back later with the college football playoff rankings tonight. So more to come. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us right here on Chat Sports. The NFL trade deadline is in the books. Welcome in to this edition of NFL Daily by Chat Sports. He's Jack Sperry. I'm Tyler Jones, breaking down the winners and losers from the trade deadline. Sperry, let's get started without further ado. And we begin with the San Francisco 49ers, who made a very aggressive move, adding Chase Young to the fold. All they gave up was a third-round pick to do so. The Niners have lost 3 games in a row. Now you bring in Chase Young into the fold. We already know they had a good pass rush, a former number 2 overall pick. I know he's dealt with the injuries, but considering the talent level, this is incredible value for San Francisco.
I mean, San Francisco came into the day. You knew they were going to be a little bit aggressive. It looked like they were trying to get Jalen Johnson. The Bears end up holding on to him. But you get Chase Young, a 24-year-old that's top 5 in pressures in the National Football League right now, and you add him to a defensive line that already has Nick Bosa, last year's Defensive Player of the Year, and Javon Hargrave, one of the best interior pass rushers in the National Football League. Chase Young, somebody that's absolutely going to make an impact right away. And if they lose him in free agency this year, the 49ers are still going to get that third-round pick back in the form of a compensatory pick in 2025.
Meanwhile, on the losers list, the team on the opposite side, the Washington Commanders, they move on from Chase Young as well as Montez Sweat, and all they have to show for it is a second-round pick and a third-round pick. Sperry, not a great day to be a Commander fan.
No, it's not. I mean, you start the day pretty good, right? The Montez Sweat trade, I was completely on board with, right? It's really tough to pay both Montez Sweat and Chase Young. You're already paying Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne to big-time contracts. It just wasn't feasible. And you get a really good draft pick in exchange for Sweat services, a second-round pick that's probably going to be maybe a top 5 pick in the second round. I think that's an excellent value if you're the Washington Commanders, but then you go to the Chase Young trade with the San Francisco 49ers, and you could have gotten a third-round compensatory pick if he left in free agency. So it doesn't really make sense on the compensation end of it. I don't think GM Martin Mayhew did a very good job here. I think this move was definitely forced by Josh Harris and this new ownership group trying to rebuild this franchise. And as a result, it's just the same old Commanders stuff going on there in the nation's capital.
Our pinned comment today: who was the biggest loser from the NFL trade deadline? We think it's the Commanders. What say you? Weigh in on our pinned comment today. Let us know who you believe that is. Back to the winners list we go. That's where we find the Philadelphia Eagles. They bring in Kevin Byard, fill in a big need at the safety position. The Eagles, this is a team that has the best record in the NFL right now. Really their only weakness, they were able to take care of. Howie Roseman, once again, aggressive at the trade deadline, making a good move.
It just doesn't seem fair that Howie Roseman can keep getting away with these kinds of deals. I mean, Kevin Byard is one of the best free safeties in the National Football League, and all you have to give up is a 5th, a 6th, and Terrell Edmonds, the guy that you're giving away at this point. I mean, seriously? I mean, I just don't get it, man. The Eagles are such a well-run organization. The Titans definitely let the Eagles off the hook on this one.
And that wasn't the only trade the Eagles made. They also gave up straight the defensive lineman to Atlanta, received a 6th-round pick, and the Falcons receive a 2025 7th-round pick. Real quick on the Falcons here, they needed help on the defensive line. They got it here.
Yes, they did. I thought they might have been in play for a Montez Sweat or a Chase Young as well, but Contavious Street's going to help out in the interior or on their defensive line right now. Kind of a lower-level move here, but overall pretty good for both sides.
Back to the losers list. That's where we find the Minnesota Vikings with the biggest head-scratcher trade of all as they move on from Ezra Cleveland. And if you nerd out and look at Pro Football Focus, you may notice that Ezra Cleveland is graded out very well. He's a 70 in about every category, top 10 offensive guard in football, and he goes to the Jags for next to nothing. A 6th-round pick was all the Vikings got here. I know the Vikings brought in Dalton Reisner a couple weeks ago. Big win for the Jags, protection for Trevor Lawrence. But what on earth were the Vikings thinking?
I couldn't tell you, Tej. I mean, Minnesota, they did give up a 6th-round pick in that Joshua Dobbs trade to Arizona. They did get that 6th-round pick back with this trade of Ezra Cleveland. But I definitely think you could have probably gotten something a little bit more for Ezra Cleveland's services. Like you said, he's a top 10 grading guard in football right now. He was doing a really good job protecting Kirk Cousins this year. Now he's a Jacksonville Jaguar. He's going to be protecting Trevor Lawrence.
And the Vikings hang on to Danielle Hunter, who is contention to be the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year right now with 10 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles. Spare Dog, I have to think that the Vikings, with the way Danielle Hunter's playing, with not trading him, the extension's got to be coming, right?
Yeah, the Vikings, I mean, if you don't trade him at the deadline here, you know, you're already selling pieces off like Ezra Cleveland. This tells me that the Vikings absolutely plan to bring Danielle Hunter back. I mean, I've seen this guy up close and personal. I used to work security at US Bank Stadium. This guy is built like a statue. Like you said, he's in the front running here to win Defensive Player of the Year. You got to keep those players in your building if you're Minnesota. Even if a rebuild is coming, you need Danielle Hunter on the edge there up north.
More to come here on NFL Daily, but first, let's tell you about today's sponsor. That is Prize Picks, which is daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. You choose 2 or more players, and on any given prop, you get the choice of more or less, whether it is passing yards, passing completions, receiving yards, catches, whatever it may be. This week on Prize Picks, and if you were playing with me on Prize Picks a couple weeks ago, we won big. We're going to win big again this week, folks. I'm putting $20 down to win $60 on Dak to have less than his given passing yard amount. Same with Josh Allen as well, with less than 270.5. Play along with Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the promo code CLNS and get a $100 deposit match. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Another trade winner, Donovan Peoples-Jones, is off to Detroit, where he gets freed from a Cleveland Browns offense where he had disappeared. Now goes to this Detroit team that is in contention. One of the better teams in the NFC. The Lions didn't have to give up a ton for him. And we know how explosive that offense is. Jared Goff's been playing some really good football. Jack, I like this restart for Donovan Peoples-Jones to not only get out of Cleveland, but to go to a team like Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Donovan Peoples-Jones, you got to be jumping for joy right now. Ben Johnson is one of my favorite offensive play callers in the game today. That Detroit Lions offense is just absolutely spectacular. They protect the quarterback well. Jared Goff is distributing the ball well, and Donovan Peoples-Jones is the type of receiver that can help them out and try to get them their first Super Bowl in franchise history. Really like this move for the Lions, and Donovan Peoples-Jones is a happy man right now.
Who's the biggest winner from the NFL trade deadline? Weigh in the comments section and give us a team or a player that comes to mind, the biggest winner. Let us know what you think. Back to the losers list, Jalen Johnson. We began the day on Tuesday with a trade request from Jalen Johnson wanting out of Chicago, did not want to be a member of the Bears anymore. Instead, he's still a member of the Bears. And now we head into the second half of 2023. Jalen Johnson having a career season, the best year of his career so far. And Jax, here he is still with Chicago. Going to be a little awkward here the next few weeks.
Yeah, the Chicago Bears were actually more buyers than sellers this year at the trade deadline. They add Montez Sweat. They keep Jalen Johnson. They shopped him around. It looked like they wanted a second-round pick. Nobody was willing to take the bait there. But Jalen Johnson, top 10 graded corner in the National Football League right now. He's having a career year. He's still really young. He's looking like a cornerstone of that Bears defense moving forward, and that's exactly what he should be. Good job by Ryan Poles to not give him up for anything less than he's worth.
Folks, we want to make sure you subscribe to NFL Daily by Chat Sports as we're covering the National Football League each and every day with the latest news and rumors, trades, draft, free agency, and more. We are live for the trade deadline. We'll be live again for our live edition of NFL Daily on Tuesday, Red Zone Channel on Sunday. Sperry, if you are a football head, if you love the National Football League, this is the channel for you.
100%, man. We got daily NFL content right here on the channel. So if you want the latest news and rumors here around the National Football League, do me a favor, click that subscribe button right now.
And last on the winners list, the Jacksonville Jaguars. We told you earlier we really liked that trade for Ezra Cleveland, not giving up a ton. And with Trevor Lawrence and that team, here they are. They're still, without a doubt, the team to beat in the AFC South. You get him a little more protection. I know the season didn't start off the way they would have liked, but the Jags are a talented football team. They're capable of putting it together and being right up there with the best in the AFC.
Absolutely. You know, my Steelers just played the Jacksonville Jaguars last week. And, you know, the Jags didn't play their best game. Trevor Lawrence had a really bad pick in the red zone, all these different things. But the Jags seem to just find ways to win football games. And, you know, I think the Jags might be a little bit just a little bit overrated right now because the offensive line as a whole has struggled. But listen, good teams find a way to win ball games. That's what Jacksonville is doing right now. And they just added a top 10 guard in football to their lineup for a 6th-round pick. That's an excellent move. The Jaguars are better today than they were yesterday.
Last on the losers list, the Denver Broncos. Now, they did just beat the Chiefs a couple days ago. That might be some new life for that Broncos team. They didn't sell like many people expected them to, but Sperry, they didn't buy either. They kind of just stood pat. What are the Broncos doing?
I don't know. The best answer that I have for you, Tej, is that Sean Payton really does like the pieces that he has there in Denver right now. Given the way this season has started, I don't know why you would be thinking that personally. Now, I'm not in that building. I don't know as much about this team as Sean Payton does, the head coach. But it definitely seems like there were some pieces here that you could have moved, especially guys on one-year contracts that might not be signing back with you, that you could have gotten some trade capital for. You're not going to be making the playoffs this year, at least in my opinion. Now, maybe Denver thinks that they're still in the playoff hunt, and that's what they're thinking right now. But definitely a loser, in my opinion. I would have tried to get something for some of these one-year contracts that they got on their roster.
Sperry doesn't think they're a playoff team. I say hell no on the Broncos as a playoff team. You kidding me? What do you say? Let us know in the comment section. Y for yes, N for no. Let producer Sam know that you don't think the Broncos are going to be a playoff team. And, folks, we will see you next time right here on NFL Daily. He's Jack Sperry. I'm Tyler Jones. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us here for our trade